You're watching Hngam's educational channel, where you can find the latest educational content from our community. Hngham helps provide educational content produced by students, faculty, and staff of the Hingham Public School System. For more Hingham community updates, tune into Hngam's government channel on Comcast 9 and Verizon Fios 30, and Hngam's public channel on Comcast 97 and Verizon Fios 31.
I want to call to order the Hingham School Committee meeting of January 9th, 2017 at 7:33 p.m. And our first order of business is the approval of minutes. And I will, before we start that, I will note that we are still outstanding on minutes of the December 14th meeting. We just received a draft of those today, and so we will approve those at a future meeting, and they've been forwarded to everyone who was in attendance at that meeting. So the first item, 2.1.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the Long Range Planning Subcommittee and School Committee meetings held on December 7th, 2016.
2007.
December 2016. December 7th, 2016? I thought that's what I said.
Okay. In a second. Okay, any discussion, comments? No? All those in favor? Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the School Committee meeting held on December 19th, 2016.
Second? Okay, any discussion? No? All those in favor? Aye.
And lastly, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the executive session of the School Committee meeting that was held on December 19th, 2016.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Number 3, questions and comments. Audience comments are always welcome as agenda items are discussed. The school committee has set aside 15 minutes on this agenda to enable members of the audience to raise questions and make comments on any matter of general concern that is not on the agenda this evening. Individual speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers are reminded that the meeting is being televised and are asked to respect the privacy rights of others, and comments against any individual are not allowed by policy 3.7.5. If you wish to speak, I request that you raise your hand and be acknowledged, and then, okay, Monica, and I understand we have quite a few people from our special education community here, so if there's anyone else other than that group, I'd like them to make sure that they get a chance to speak. So, Monica, you can go.
Okay, hello. Is it working? Does it need to? Okay. Okay. All right. So my name is Monica Matthews. I am a 4th grade teacher at Foster School. This is my 12th year teaching there. I am also a parent of a 4th grader at Foster School and 2 5th graders at Foster School. And I should start off by saying how incredibly proud I am to teach in Hingham Public Schools, and also how grateful I am to have kids who are going through the Hingham Public School system. I feel like they are getting an excellent education. I feel like I work with amazing people, and I appreciate every day going to work. But I felt compelled to come today to talk about class size, because it's an issue I think, you know, from my perspective, the quality of the teacher is the number one factor in a child's education, and I see class size as the number 2 factor in the quality of a child's education. And so I want to talk about class size just in general, but also specifically with the class that we have this year in the 4th grade at Foster School. So, because I know you're going through starting your budget talks, and you're going to be talking about budgeting for teachers. And so I just want to kind of open up. I know you have to make these decisions, and then you have to move on to other important things, but I think it's important to see how those decisions play out in the classroom for the 180 days that we have these larger class sizes. When we have these larger class sizes, obviously our expectations stay the same. There's no way that we could have lower expectations just because we have 25 kids in a classroom as opposed to 18 kids in the classroom. So our expectations are the same, but then there's no accommodation or acknowledgement of the fact that there's a big game changer, that there are now 25 kids instead of 18. And so when you look at all the different factors that could possibly be changed, for example, the classroom size. I got the same square footage, whether there's 18 kids in my class or 25 kids in my class. We can't change the size of my classroom. So in comes 7 new desks, in comes 7 new chairs, and we make room for them. That little table over in the corner where we meet with small groups, sorry, there's no more room for it. So that goes out, and in come those 7 desks and those 7 chairs, because we can't do anything about that. With the small groups, we all differentiate our instruction. We meet in small groups. We have RTI. Well, those small groups that last year were 5 or 6 kids, which is what it's supposed to be, targeted instruction that meets the needs of those kids. Well, now it's 8 or 9 kids. I don't even have a table that fits 9 kids plus me comfortably with their materials. So that RTI seems to kind of also lose its efficacy with the kids. The time is another issue. We still have 6 hours in the day. I don't get to have a longer day because I have 25 kids in my class. I still have those same hours. So in my writing workshop, when I'm conferencing with kids, I just have to try to fit in 25, and I don't always get to see all of them every day like I would when I have a class of 18 or 19. My time is less with them, and so that also kind of plays out. And then, so then it gets down to me, the teacher. There's still one teacher. There's still one teacher if there's 18 kids. There's still one teacher if there's 25 kids. So that's just another factor that also doesn't change. So basically, I came to talk about class size in general because I think all those factors, just nothing else changes except for that number. But it certainly has this huge impact for the other 180 days. And the class that I have right now, I'm a parent of a student in this group, and it has gone from 4 sections in first grade to 3 sections in second grade. It was a very difficult year in second grade. It just happens to be a group that needs a lot of attention. And third grade went back to 4 sections, and it was great. I could just see in the demeanor of my child how much more involved and how much more he felt confident, like he belonged and he was participating. And now we're back this year to 3 sections. And so we're back to those larger classes. So as a teacher and as a parent, I'm just worried about 5th grade. They're going to be bigger. They're going to still be in that same square footage. The curriculum is more rigorous. And when I look and I think, how can we say that our expectations are the same? And how can we say that they're going to get the same quality Hingham Public Schools education when they have not had this smaller class? They've had these bumps in the road with these larger classes. And I just can't confidently say when they leave Foster School and head to the middle school, has it been equitable, for example, as compared to my other kids who have had consistently a more manageable class size from kindergarten all the way up. So I just wanted to kind of let it all play out and let you know how it looks. Okay.
Short comment quickly.
Thank you, Monica, for coming. And I hadn't really ever thought very much about things like the space, which are, so obvious a component. The school committee gets the monthly enrollment, and actually we talked about it just last week when we did the first budget hearing. And certainly, I think as educators, we think that this 20 to 22 range is where we'd like all of our classes to be. We have 92 elementary classrooms this year, and of the 92, there are 4 classrooms that are at 25. That's the max. And so, I have to look at the big picture and not just the individual buildings. We do look at what we might be able to do if we have a choice between 4 of this and 3 of that. We try to look at the history of that class as well to be sure that it's not a group that has had 25 every year in elementary, and we look at that. We have a policy in the school committee manual. It says that the principals are supposed to notify us when the class sizes are beyond a certain number, and if there's a suggestion that they can make, to make that suggestion. Of course, it isn't all about numbers, always. You can have a class of 20 with a makeup that really requires much more attention than with the other. So it's always on our mind. This year, as I say, we have the 4 classes out of the 92. We have, I think, remarkable consistency among the buildings in that the last time we redistricted here was when we were opening East School. And at that point, redistricting is always stressful because you can make things work across one grade and then you look at the next year and say, oh my God, if we do this and draw the lines here, we'll have a balance that kind of pops out somewhere else. So it's difficult. But we came up with a redistricting plan, and really, if you look at our class sizes across the district, I'm really pleased, and that was very much parent input. We studied maps and drew lines and put pins for kids and so on, and we had a lot of parent input. And that has held up well over all of these years. And in fact, the average class line across the class size across the 4 buildings is from 20.5 to 21.4. Averages absolutely don't tell the whole story, and every teacher and every parent will remind me of that, and it is true. But nevertheless, it's a pretty narrow range. Our class size average is 21. There have been, over the recent history, which I would say is the last 10 or 12 years, the year before East School opened, we had class sizes of 27 and 28 and 29, and that really wasn't so much about not enough funding. It was about not enough places to put people. We divided the library at Plymouth River. We used part of the back of the library at Foster School for regular class, and we did all kinds of things you have to do while we were in the temporary building period. So we have experienced class sizes, but the parents coming through now and the students coming through now didn't experience that, so they don't remember that. They don't have that frame of reference. But I would say we look at it all the time, every month, and I do it myself. I kind of like numbers, and so I'm the one that looks at these numbers and counts them up and checks things out. It's not a simple problem to solve when you have 4 schools, because if you hire a teacher to reduce class sizes in one building, of course, that's the expectation from everybody, and a very fair expectation, that we should do the same thing everywhere. This year particularly, we are working with what was asked of us, and that is a level services budget. And that is a budget that would provide the same level of services that we have in the current year, next year. What would be the cost of that? So that's kind of the budget mandate that came from the town. And so it's very hard to justify adding elementary classes, classroom teachers and classrooms, when in fact we have a declining elementary enrollment. And we have slides in our budget presentations that show how much the elementary enrollment is declining. And it's declining mainly because we have large 5th grade classes still moving through the system. So we have a large 5th grade moves out to the middle school, but we have had smaller kindergarten classes entering. And so there's a net, individual class sizes haven't changed very much, but there's a net loss. So it's very hard to justify something that would be a benefit in a year when we're looking to say we need to keep services level for budget reasons. So we'll continue to monitor the situation. We do understand. I think that we try to do a fair job of things like, if it's a large class and there are a fair number of children that have special needs in that class, that perhaps they need more paraprofessional time. So there are some options to do that, and the principals have an opportunity every fall to suggest some of them, and we talk about them. And sometimes we say, I think we can live with it as it is, although other times you say, and it may not always be the biggest class, that we need to provide some additional help. So.
Oh, yeah. Want to comment on?
Monica, thank you very much. Several of us, I'm sure I did, received either yesterday or today at least 2 emails from parents talking about the same topic. And just a question for you. If my flow sheet demographics is correct, and you were a 4th grade teacher last year, you would have had 22 kids.
Yep.
Was there that much of a difference between 22 and 25?
There is, because with the group that we have this year. And honestly, I just don't think any class should be over 22. It definitely makes a difference. And the group we have right now, I'm very worried about as a group with three teachers instead of one.
Thank you.
Monica, thank you for your perspectives. They were very unique and pertinent, and we appreciate it. We're at the beginning of our budget cycle, so thank you for coming forward and sharing that with us. We'll definitely keep it in mind. Anyone else? Okay, Katie?
Hi, my name is Katie Goggin. I'm here tonight as a parent of a 4-year-old boy with nonverbal autism. Ben loves his twin brother and his 2-year-old sister. He's like a little fish in the water, and he's known his letters and his numbers to 100 since he turned 2. But Ben also requires very different supports in the classroom in order to make progress. Ben is currently placed out of district, and he spends nearly 3 hours a day commuting to a school that can meet his needs. It's heartbreaking as a parent to have to put your preschooler to travel so far to when I believe that programs really could be in place to meet the needs of children like Ben right here in Hingham. I'm also here on behalf of the many parents, many of whom are behind me today, that I've met in the last 3 months. Parents of children of all ages and diagnoses who have struggled to get their children the support they need to make progress in the classroom. These parents have found the process of qualifying for services to be daunting, were unaware of the range of services that may be available, or were disappointed at the quality or the intensity of services that their children received. Special education is a really difficult world to navigate, and the schools have done very little to make this process more supportive or transparent. Most of you in this room are aware of the challenges that parents have faced just obtaining a copy of the Walker Report or the settlement agreements under the Champa ruling. Many of us have experienced the same type of stonewalling when we were advocating for services for our individual children. Having a child receive special education services can be a frustrating and isolating experience for many. As a result of these experiences, as well as declining MCAS scores, rising costs of out-of-district placements, and the school department's inadequate response to the Walker Report, we are asking the school committee to authorize funds to commission a comprehensive independent evaluation of the special education department that's to take place during the 2017-2018 school year. A national firm with established expertise in this area should conduct the evaluation, and we believe that it is critical that parents of children who receive special education services or 504 accommodations be a part of drafting a request for proposal, selecting a vendor, participating in the evaluation, and analyzing the results. During individual conversations, many of us had been told that central office is very busy with other requirements and cannot take on an independent evaluation during the 2017-2018 school year. It is difficult to understand how, with nearly 9 months' notice, that the schools could not be prepared to participate in an evaluation in which their chief responsibilities would be providing data and organizing a series of focus groups and classroom observations. The results of an evaluation initiated next fall would not be available before the spring of 2018, meaning that we could not even begin to plan to implement recommendations until the following school year. Given the decline in MCAS scores for students with disabilities in every major category between 2015 and 2016, we don't think we can wait any longer for special education to improve. We also think doing an independent evaluation next year positions the schools very well for their DESE coordinated program review, which is scheduled to take place in 2018 and 2019, and in that sense, a smart strategic move for the central office. Finally, we know that central office works very hard with a very small staff. We believe contracting a third-party expert to do this work relieves the administration of having to undertake complicated analyses themselves in addition to their current workload. Parents in this room have also been asked to identify the top 3 issues that schools can work on while we await an evaluation. Parents appreciate that the administration and school committee's willingness to acknowledge and address concerns related to special education. But we humbly disagree that we are the right people to assess and prioritize the challenges facing our students. We are parents, we are not experts. And although we have become really knowledgeable in the individual challenges that our children face, we neither have the ability nor should be asked to prioritize areas of needs. As parents, we don't know how to prioritize whether addressing issues in sub-separate classrooms, executive functioning supports dyslexia, social skills, or services in the middle and high school, much less the use of paraprofessionals, co-teaching models, or the number of new BCBAs required to meet the needs of increasing children with autism. That sort of analysis really requires the expertise of a qualified national evaluator and who has the time and access to all of the data they need to conduct a sound analysis and make well-supported recommendations. Special education currently comprises about 24% of the school's budget, which is nearly $11.5 million in taxpayer dollars. In reviewing other local districts,
You're at 5 minutes, so.
yeah, I'm sorry, I'm almost done. In reviewing other local districts, the spending is not out of line. We do not believe we need to make greater investments in special education. We just need to use that funding more wisely. The cost of contracting for an evaluation performed by a national consulting firm is estimated at approximately $50,000, which is less than 0.5% of the entire special education budget for 2016-2017, and just a fraction of the unspent funds that the schools returned to Hingham's general fund last year. This is a small investment to improve a department in which we already invest so much. As budget meetings for the 2017-2018 school year begin, please ensure that an independent evaluation of special education services is included. We can't wait any longer to begin improving services for our vulnerable students.
Thank you. I believe Dr. Gallo has some comments that.
I just will comment on the specific request, not on the other things that Katie so eloquently spoke about. I think Liza will have some comments as well, but just on the topic of an independent evaluation. I think independent evaluations are good tools, along with the other mandated evaluations that we have to do for the state and our own internal program reviews that we have for every department. And I think I've said that to some of you as individuals, and I've certainly given you permission to share that information. So we don't disagree that an independent evaluation is an important tool. And in fact, we have the upcoming, as you said, the upcoming evaluation that we have to do, coordinated program review, that will come the year after next. And it's actually not the year in which the evaluation occurs that's the problem. A team comes, or an individual, or a couple of people come, and they're here for maybe 3 to 5 days. And it's a little bit disruptive because they have to meet with large numbers of people in groups and do records reviews and so on. The challenging year is the year before they come, when we get the long list of criteria and all the evidence that we have to produce and all the files that we have to pull and all of the groups of staff members that we have to pull together to get their input. So it's not the visit year that's the most complicated one. It really is the year before. So that's just an aside. We are working on a chart that is going to show you over a kind of a 2-cycle thing the number of evaluations that are mandated for us and the request for information that we must make for special ed. This is the 5-year coordinated program review cycle, so a 6-year. So we have an evaluation, and then we have a mid-cycle in year 3, and then we have a new coordinated program full review in year 6. In the intervening years, we have to provide information on things that are called indicators for the Department of Education. And any one year, there are 2 or 3 of those that we have to report out. Considerable time in collecting that information. So those are the mandated things. As well, every 4 years, internally, we have a program review for every department. So special ed is part of that. So what we are looking to do in putting together this master list, and in addition, things that other buildings need, because it isn't a department in isolation. People in all the buildings are interviewed and have to create data lists. And there are the administrators in all of the buildings and so on. So we're trying to put together a complete list and then say where best would this evaluation fit, number 1, and number 2, what's kind of a cycle so that we can make a commitment that it will be an ongoing thing. You all know that we did the evaluation in 2012, and it was an internal one. And, I guess I would have to disagree that we haven't done anything about it, because we have, and I told you I'll report out on that in March, but that's an aside. So I do believe this is important. We actually did another external look, very narrow one, in 2008, where we had somebody come in and look at what were now our new skills classes at the high school, students who were with us till 22, and then the skills class at the middle school. So that was in 2008, and then we did the one in 2012. And I know there's a lot of criticism of those, but the fact is, I think it establishes that we believe this is an important part of looking at our program. There's no disagreement about the importance of other eyes looking, and most of the time, it's not the expertise in those other eyes, it's just other eyes that have had other experiences than we have had that can take a look at what needs to happen. So I think you've made a very specific proposal, and the school committee will need to respond to that, and they will. I think that we need to look at three aspects of your proposal before the school committee can make a recommendation as to what they would request of the town. One of these is the timing, we just talked about that. The other is the scope of the evaluation. We've talked about it being an all-intensive thing, and think about, there's such a range of disabilities that my personal opinion is smaller scope, 2 or 3 things to look specifically at so you can get the right experts to come in. Very few people are experts in everything. So look at, is that a reasonable scope? And the last thing is to look at the cost. So we have some copies, thanks to your efforts of pulling copies of reviews and reports off the internet. We are going to do our due diligence so that at least from the administrative perspective, we can make a recommendation to the school committee, which they will consider in responding to your specific request. So we've done our due diligence. We've talked to principals. We've talked to a superintendent, a principal, and a superintendent, a school committee chair, and an assistant superintendent in 3 of the districts where you sent us reports to find out what did you think of your report? Did it respond to the things that you needed to know? Has it given you any sense of direction moving forward? So that's our homework, to look at your request, to make a recommendation to the school committee. They are doing their own due diligence and will respond to your request. But those comments really are just relative to the specific request.
I would just like to add that thank you for coming forward. We have been aware of these concerns that came up at the end of November. On December 14th, the 4 of us attended the CPAC meeting when we first heard about this interest of having this evaluation. And since that time, we have been reaching out to get more information. We've been doing our own homework on what this would mean. It's important that now we're in the budget cycle. We had our first budget working session on Thursday night. We have another one this coming Thursday night. We have another one on January 19th. We have many more budget meetings through to the end of February. So thank you for bringing this to us early in the process. But I would also like to point out to you that we also committed to having a further evaluation or presentation on the MCAS scores of the high need students, and we've already been working on that. And on January 11th, in order to address these issues, we have to follow a process. And part of that is collecting information. And on January 11th, there is a CPAC meeting for parents only, that many of these issues are going to be raised to get input. I don't know where the prioritization comment about but we do want to know from parents what is on your mind. And part of the January 11th meeting with the agendas, that's Wednesday night, the agenda's posted, is to get some feedback on, if we do this evaluation, what issues do people want to have focused on? There's going to be a discussion of a survey of parents whose children have IEPs and 504 accommodations, to get some more input from parents in order to inform us of what do we need to evaluate. And in addition, we want to hear questions from parents of what information do you want to hear in this MCAS follow-up report, so that we can address those questions when we do the report. So the January 11th meeting, we're anxious to hear the information, and we see that of CPAC organizing that meeting as a way of gathering this information. Then on January 19th, that budget meeting is the presentation of Special Education Department. And I understand that, we can provide more history as to the rising costs of out-of-district placements that you referenced. And then January 30th, we're looking at, hopefully we can get the information together to have this follow-up report on the MCAS data. And I look at the data a little differently than the way you presented it, but we'll have Jamie Law-Bilwa present it to all of you at that time, so that make sure we're all looking at the same data. I think that's a fair thing. Then February 13th, we have our official public hearing. And then around February 27th, we would plan to vote the budget. So we still have there is time. We're doing our due diligence. As Dr. Gallo said, we're speaking to other communities. I spoke to Somerville School Committee Chair today. Was playing phone tag with her over the weekend to get more information. That was one of the towns that you had cited of the report. So we're working on this. We're working very hard on it, but we want to hear more from you in order that we can do our due diligence and make an informed decision. We also have to manage the budget, as we've been asked by the town, and we're looking at ourselves of delivering a level services budget, and to have any new requests put as an additional list. And that will be then looked at. We will be having meetings with the advisory committee to advocate for what we feel is appropriate. So we're doing our homework on all of this. There's nothing decided, so I appreciate you all coming forward. I appreciate the information. I'm sure everyone else does, but we're doing our homework on it too, in order to continue improvement in our public schools. I know that's what I'm committed to, and I appreciate you all making the time to raise the issues and come out and share it with us. But I also encourage you to go to the CPAC meeting and consolidate the lists of issues so that we really understand what's happening and where the concerns are. And so,
Since Eliza mentioned homework, excuse me, that we're doing our homework, I want to mention as well that thanks to Jamie and particularly to Liz O'Neill, and we all put our heads together about this website, and we have a brand new website, and it's not perfect. And I know I risk saying go look at it until it is, because we'll get complaints, but we're proud.
Yeah. It is, it's looking
Yeah,
good, but it's not
I
live
know,
just yet,
yeah.
we're just getting some.
Yeah, she made it live today.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Okay, it's live.
So anyway, so we're proud that we've made the effort, and we want you to know that we listened to you and we've made this effort, and, we'll be interested in some comments about what more you'd like to see. Some of it is a lot of stuff that's actually there, and in fact, the results of our last coordinated program review is there, and that might be something you want to look at. But in any event, a lot of information about programs is there, and then some of it is just in a framework form where we're waiting for John to take some photos of staff members to punctuate things. So take a look, tell us what you think, but know that it's not perfect, but we've got a lot done, I think, in the several weeks that we've been involved in this. So we'll keep at it.
Yeah, Carla, I want to move this along because we have
Yeah,
more.
but just
But
wanna-
please, anyone that wants to
Yes, I
come.
just want to say that
So we met first as part of this special ed subcommittee jointly with CPAC on November 30th. And obviously the parents, it was over 70 parents in that room, a lot of passion, spoke up, and that was the first time that, you know, this Walker report was introduced, because part of the parents' request is that an evaluation is conducted. So obviously, it was said that an evaluation was actually had been done, but you know that perhaps by March we'd have that, you know, distributed to the parents. So obviously that generated a lot of frustration, and a lot of the parents, you know, really spoke up because of that, and I commend everyone for speaking up. We had another meeting on the 14th where was moving in a very positive fashion, and people are also requested once again to see a copy of that report. And I officially, because we had again a jointly school committee and CPAC meeting, and we had to call the meeting to order on behalf of the school committee, Liza did. I made a motion on behalf of the school committee, and yes, the minute's about to come, to actually authorize the superintendent to release that Walker report. Several conversations went back and forth on emails, and you know, I'm very disappointed that, you know, was mixed messages, and you know, it shows mistrust. This community is not really believing that we actually can deliver the services that we are supposed to deliver. They have actually highlighted that on several emails that we have received in the last 3-4 days. So what I would like to do, Liza, you know, and with all due respect, I appreciate everything that CPAC and other groups do in town, and we need to make sure that we own this as a school committee, that, you know, the administration owns this. An evaluation was done, and Dr. Gallo, you're right. I mean, you did do, and the staff did do a lot of the stuff on that report, but there is a huge mistrust right now. So they're asking for something that's very reasonable, which is, let's go about conducting another evaluation by, you know, someone that has a good reputation. And as a matter of fact, I stand ready to make a motion when given opportunity to, you know, say it.
Okay, I don't want to get into a discussion about this point because it's not on our agenda, and that's why I outlined what our next steps are of when we're going to hear more information about this, so that we can have a formal discussion about what we're going to do about this issue. So that's why I went through the dates. It's not on our agenda, so
Okay.
I don't want to get into the discussion of it. But we are going to have that discussion, and so I don't want to. I'm not
I want to
ending
make
the
sure that
issue.
we don't keep going around.
No,
that's all.
no, we're not. We're not. So that's why I outlined that January 11th, it's very important that we get information from the CPAC in order to help us be informed of our what we're going to decide. And then January 19th, we have our budget hearing. January 30th, we hope to have the follow-up MCAS presentation. And we have a lot of other meetings coming up of discussing the budget, and a lot of other school committee meetings that we haven't even set the agendas yet. So this is not going away. We're not putting it under the table at all. We're working on it. And now that we're back from the holidays, we have to engage everyone else on the school committee that wants to work on it. But it's not going away. But that's about it for, we got to get on with one more thing. Go ahead, and one more.
I'm Jamie Kenny. I'm curious what you guys are going to take on, instead of having us come to you with what we want done, or having Dot and the administration come. I would like to see you guys meeting with principals and meeting with special education teachers, and you guys doing some of the work in this, not just meeting with parents, but rolling up your sleeves and questioning the administration, questioning the school principals, figuring out where this has all gone wrong, if in fact it has gone wrong. But I think that it's important to not just put this back on CPAC or a parents group or an administration. I think you guys need to take some ownership as elected officials of our children and our tax money to do some of the research and the homework.
Jamie, we are.
It doesn't
And-
feel that way, Liza, when you say go back and come back to us as parents.
Jamie,
with
that's
what you guys
one
want.
element of the.
Well, I'm asking, what
ish-
are you doing? I guess that's I'm sorry, let me just rephrase that. What exactly
Okay.
are you guys doing?
I will tell you what I spent my weekend and today doing, going through the DESE website and every single accountability report of all of our schools and looking at the subgroups to look at all the trends over time. And I had a 2-hour meeting with Jamie LaBeois this morning to look at this MCAS issue.
That's great.
Okay,
That's not
so,
above and
but-
beyond. That's standard. You know, that is what you should be doing.
Okay, we're gonna end this now because we have further agenda, and this is not on our agenda, this is a comment. I'm not putting this off, but I have told you where we're going for, in the future, and we have additional agenda to get to. So that's it, because we said 15 minutes.
When is it gonna be on the agenda? Can we just find out when will it be on the agenda so we can have a forum like this? It's very frustrating. We're all here tonight and
What's
we
the
would like
process to get it on the
We
agenda?
want it on the agenda.
The school
Uh,
committee hasn't adopted their budget yet. So that's kind of the end of, the budget that they're looking at now is the budget that the administration has proposed. There will be changes that will occur over the next month. On February 15th, the school committee has to hold by law an official budget meeting. And that's the point at which they will present the budget that they are going to present to the town, based upon what we have presented to them. So that's an important date. By February 15th, there is a required open budget meeting. We televise it, it'll be an open meeting here, and that's the point at which there has to be this decision made. The answer to your specific request will be made. But there's no shortage of things that we all have been working on very hard. There just is no shortage of those things, and it'll probably take too long tonight to even list every one of them. But we have heard you, we have acted, and this is another action you're asking us to take. The February 13th becomes the date at which we go from an administrative proposed budget to the school committee budget, and that then will be voted. I'm sorry?
We're trying to be in that proposed budget.
Yes.
So shouldn't the meeting that we have to discuss this with the school
Right,
committee
so the school committee will be making their
We're saying we would like to be on the
adoption, and
agenda
it will
with-
be voted, so there's even then time, because they don't vote it until February 28th.
So I think the question, no, I hear you.
For that school committee to have a discussion about this, so that it can be
How do we
brought
get-
up
how do we get on the agenda?
With the school.
rather than waiting
meeting.
until the proposed budget is created and then having a discussion.
That's why we're here.
What if we're not on the agenda until after the 13th?
Okay, so, yeah.
Can you say your name?
Tara on,
Okay. We just,
ANNE.
okay, thanks.
We have what I've invited you to is January 19th. It's a Thursday night. We have our third budget hearing, which is the discussion of the special ed budget. It's not on television. It's a working session so that we can hear the recommendation from the school administration about the special ed budget. At that time, we will be focusing and talking about, and this is my intention of, as the chair who sets the agenda, that I'd like that to be a focus of hearing from the administration about the recommendation on the evaluation, and to have better understanding of what your claims of our out-of-district costs rising. Then on January 30th, we have another regular school committee meeting. I haven't set the agenda for that yet. If it's appropriate to have that discussion then, we'll have that discussion then. February 13th, we have a public hearing about the budget, We don't vote the budget until February 27th. So February 13th is another public meeting. I appreciate the fact that you're coming here because you want to know when you're on the agenda. Okay, I just got that information tonight. I can now register that in my mind and plan it out and understand how we can proceed. So I can't give you an answer. I'm not going to give you an answer off the top of my head right here when this is the first time I'm hearing this request. You want to have this further discussion of this, when I want to have it with the school committee, and I'm telling you, January 19th and potentially the 30th or the February 13th. So, excuse me? Yeah.
To Jamie's question and sort of the bigger picture in general, I think you guys, and I appreciate everyone has a different story here, but I think that's almost part of the problem from our perspective, is that this is huge. I mean, it's almost too big to for any of us to wrap our heads around. So the reason that I think it's important for the parents to meet at CPAC and to come up with a reasonable list of things that we need to focus on, that we can wrap our heads around, because then we can go to the principals and say, tell me about what you do about this, and I see a couple of you wincing, and I'm assuming.
The size of the problem is the reason. So us as an uninformed group whittling it down to 2 or 3 things that may be missing.
But then how are you expecting us to do it? Right, okay, so I get that.
Puts it off for a year and a half.
But we can't just say to someone, evaluate.
Sooner?
We have to have them evaluate something. So having your impact.
They look at the whole program.
Yeah. Yeah.
We hear you?
So you don't think, Jamie, that you need
Okay.
Yeah, quick, because it's not on our agenda, so I don't want to get too deep into it. I'm not pushing it off.
We're here and we vote.
I'm going to let Jamie respond.
So I think there's agreement about the need for an evaluation, right? So we agree. I think we would disagree, though, that to do everything at once. What we're proposing is you could take the special ed program and break it down into upwards of 20 different departments or programs, right? Everything from programming for kids in the ASD spectrum to social and behavioral emotional health to pre-special ed intervention and referral, like the RTI system. You can look at services for kids with language-based disabilities. You can look at inclusion services at elementary, at middle, at high school, life skills programs. I think, so, we can do anything, we just can't do everything. So we're not suggesting we're not going to evaluate everything, right? What we're proposing to the committee is to examine a multi-year rollout, systematically examining every single component of the special ed program, thereby allowing us to contract with field-specific experts in that particular topic. So I have an earned doctorate from an R1 research university in special education policy and administration, okay? You're gonna be hard pressed to find a national consultant who can evaluate the entire thing.
Well, of course not. There's specialists in different areas.
That's what we're saying. So we're saying, if we look at in year 1, we wanna look at these 4 things, then we wanna contract with the right specialist, right? The right evaluator to then look at those 4 areas. None of this is to put off an evaluation. It's to take a really complicated organism. This is a complicated organization. It really is. And to take a broad sweep and have one person come in and look at everything soup to nuts doesn't make sense. So what the
one person, it would be a team of people that have those levels of expertise.
Yeah, I don't know that that's how that works, though.
It
really, you know what I mean? Like,
we need to bring people in that do.
And so we're not disagreeing. I think what our proposal will be aligned with that. It's that it's not something that we are recommending to the school committee to undertake all at once. That's what we're saying.
So we
So,
have a baseline?
You have
yeah,
to-
so in year 1, we want to look at these 4 areas, right? In year 2, we need to.
I'm sorry, so this decision has
No.
already been made with you.
No.
No,
What,
no,
that's, what,
no,
no. So,
No.
Well, apparently, it seems apparent this discussion has already taken place behind you.
it hasn't.
I've never heard it.
Sure.
I think that the problem here from like the parent perspective is that it's really hard. We all know special education is such a personal thing. Like I have my own struggle with my child, everyone else does. So for you guys to say to us, get together and decide what are the most important things, my most important thing is gonna be different than hers, than hers, than hers. And I think it's
Sure.
really hard for us, then how do we sit around as a community to say, okay, these 4 parents, their need is higher than these. So I think what we're saying is it's really hard to put it back on us and say, where do we need to
Sure.
really do it first?
But we're not asking you to prioritize. We're asking for
Input
the
on-
list
yeah.
of what, no, we're not asking you to prioritize. We're asking for the information from you. Not a priority, but just the list.
So if there's 100 of you, it could be a list of 100 things.
Yeah.
And to be
Falls in the
clear,
helpful bucket for you
to be
guys.
clear, I had not, that's the first I heard that of
Yeah,
Jamie.
that
I know
had
that
not-
It looks like we had talked, we had not. My question was essentially the scaled down version of, the less official version of that. Just, if you want me to talk to somebody, I can't just go in and say, tell me about special ed. You know, I have to
Right.
say, tell me about X, because we only have an hour, so it's gonna take a while, and essentially that's the problem, is there's too many things, and we are hearing it. We got so many emails today, thank you, probably from a lot of you in the room, so we are hearing it, we really are.
But to that comment, my responsibility, so I'm not going to disagree, I'm not going to pretend that this hasn't been a topic of conversation for us, because it can. My responsibility now is to turn to the committee and propose to them a recommendation from the school administration. So I am preparing a recommendation that is looking at a comprehensive multi-year evaluation of the special ed program, but it's not going to happen all at once.
Well, we just
So,
went through
right,
we just
so-
went through this little charade where we pretended that those conversations hadn't taken place, the process was completely open.
That's not a charade.
That's not fair.
Correct.
These are the decision makers.
That's right.
We're the employees and the educators.
bring them a
On every
recommendation.
matter, we make a recommendation to them. They are the people who will enact it. And quite honestly, we can make our own list. Jamie and I can sit down tomorrow and make the list of the things that we think
have it. I mean,
we need to attack
The idea was
first.
to engage parents, and is this sort of what you're
But you all wanted to
seeing?
be part of this,
Yeah.
and so we're really working hard at trying to involve you and restore some sense of trust, working hard at those things, as well as trying to come up with what we think is the best recommendation for handling your specific request. But these 7 people are the decision makers, there's no question about that.
Have you
Right,
called
that's
an
my
outside
concern.
evaluator to see how it works? If it's look at a couple things at once, or if it's look at all and kind of give you, these are areas you need to then go research a little bit more? I think that's the whole point of a really good evaluation, is to point out all the areas and then maybe focus. To focus ahead of time doesn't seem right.
I think
don't
you've
really-
misunderstood our request to get input from you.
Yeah.
Was the Walker report done all at once?
But no.
No, it focused on specific
We knew we wanted
questions.
an evaluation, we
Right.
had ideas in our mind, it was internal, wasn't intended to be, a school committee project or anything. We sent them a letter that we were doing that, but, we met with the evaluator and we said, these are the kinds of things we want to know. At the time, paraprofessionals, the number was growing, and we were looking at, what do other places do about this? What kinds of recommendations can you make that we can maintain, some budget sanity and still satisfy what parents want and the things that we hear in IEP meetings? So we named a bunch of things that we wanted to know more about. We were just beginning with RTI, so we said, we'd like to have your opinion about what we're doing about RTI. There were probably 4 or 5 things that we talked with the evaluator about. He went then back and set his agenda of who he would need to talk to when he came for the evaluation, what documentation he would like to have. And and that's exactly what happened in Cohasset, and that's exactly what happened in some of these other communities that you pointed us to look at.
My concern is that they are the experts, I understand that, but they've had their chance. I want you guys to question what they come back to you with and not just rubber stamp it and roll up your sleeves and find out, I believe they failed. I believe the majority of us feel they failed. And so I think it is on you as their bosses to do the right thing. And in order to do that, you guys have to do the work. We can tell you what things need to be done in the short term, but you guys need to do more work, period. That's how I feel.
Okay.
Respectfully.
Hardly.
No, it's very respectful.
No,
If your
it's-
child was in my child's shoes,
Okay.
you'd understand how.
Okay, I think we've covered enough, and thank you all for coming, and we will follow up with you as we'll share our agendas with you, and I'm sure I have meetings with some of you already scheduled, and we're gonna keep doing our work. So, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention.
Me too.
What? Okay. Oh, Brad, you're still here. Do you need to get home to do homework?
Or is that ship has sailed?
Okay. So,
Why don't we defer to Brad?
okay, we're going to jump ahead on the agenda and have student communications 5.2 now, since you were enlightened of the democratic process of witnessing that. But it was a good discussion. So Brad Patterson.
All right, thank you. So starting tomorrow night at the high school in the auditorium will be the one-act play, which starts at 7 p.m. This Wednesday, the debate team will be participating in their third debate, which will be at Silver Lake. Next Monday, we will have school off since it will be Martin Luther King Day, and also next Monday will be the Hingham Cup between the Hingham girls hockey team and Notre Dame, and our own Dr. Jerron McCann will be dropping the puck at that event. And on the 21st, students will be auditioning at the all-state level for the chance to perform at Symphony Hall because they did such a remarkable job at the Southeastern District level. And then on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th will be the mid-years. On the 23rd, which is the Monday, will be social studies followed by math. On Tuesday, the 24th, will be English followed by science. And on the 25th, any tests missed by students, some AP tests will be on that day. And also on Wednesday will be mock trial's first trial against Pembroke. The following Thursday marks the beginning of the third term at the high school. And starting the 26th as well, the Hingham Model United Nations Club will be attending a conference at Harvard, which will go through from the 26th to the 29th. Any questions or comments?
So you only have, what, 3 or 4 meetings before you graduate? Are you working and bringing somebody else to,
I'll have to
just
start
learn?
looking into that. Just as Jamie
we enjoy your presence.
asked me to come a few years ago, pass the torch.
Yes.
Brad, do you know the name of the one-act play? Are they
No, I don't.
Doing the,
Is it in the newsletter?
Oh,
I don't
might
know
be.
if it is, but-
I thought they were doing
That's
that. Are they doing that?
the slut.
Yeah.
I think that's the
That's the spring.
the
Oh, the
spring
spring show.
show.
Yeah.
I think these are different. And then they also have festies, and the senior one acts as well.
Oh, this is the one acts for the
students.
The students,
Yeah.
okay, I got it, yeah. That seemed early. All right, thank you.
Great,
Thank you.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad, can you leave that door a
leave it
little
open.
ajar?
Thank you. Thank you.
You want to leave it?
Ajar,
Yeah, leave it
yeah.
a little open. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go back to number 4, superintendent's report. Good news.
Yeah, and I'm really
about
disappointed
time.
that more people didn't stay
The good
to
news?
hear the good news, because there is so much good news, and Brad always gives us things that are exciting to think about kids doing, and it kind of makes our day. I would note, and I'm going to combine both categories of announcements here, but I would note that there is a lot more good news from the high school in the newsletter that's in your packet. It's always very informative, and in particular in this issue is a summary of the fall sports season, and team honors and individual student honors and coach honors, and really another very successful season. We're very, very proud of that. There is in there as well, particularly sorry that people have missed this, a letter from DESE, and it was sent to us on December 30th. We got it last week. It's an honor that we knew it was coming, but I have been invited, along with the principals of the 2 schools that we have that are commended schools based upon last year's MCAS. And they are South Elementary School and Plymouth River School, and they're commended for high progress. Not for high effort, but for high progress, and those are 2 different things. There are 51 commended schools who were invited to come to the State House for a reception and receipt of a certificate. 51 in the state, schools, not districts, 51 schools, and there are hundreds and hundreds of schools in the state, and 2 of them are ours, and so I'm very proud of that, and all the work that went into that. And so you have the letter that came to me. The principal's got a similar letter inviting them. Next, I want to comment on something that you will think is just a repeat of something I gave you last year and the year before, but another honor for Chrissy O'Connor from the Social Studies Department. There are 2 things in your packet. One is a letter that went to Paula, because Chrissy's a teacher in that building, and the other is a letter that came to me, an announcement, and another is a photo that we just put in today of the student who will be accompanying Chrissy to Normandy to visit the cemeteries there. It's kind of an extension of the Understanding Sacrifice project that Chrissy has been recognized for 2 years in a row, being part of that project. Really exciting. We share this with the veterans groups in town, and they're very pleased with it. And I did a special superintendent spotlight on it, but imagine a student in high school, in a junior year, going off to Normandy with a teacher to extend that project, and then to come back here and find a local hero that they will research. These are good things going on in our school district. Also, I included a letter tonight at your place that came, an email that came from Andrew, our METCO director, about a brand new breakfast program that a lot of people have helped with. Somebody giving up a classroom at the high school, Kim working on the menu, that our METCO students who have to arrive at the high school, around 7 because they come on the same bus with the middle school youngsters. So they'll have, the 45 minutes or so before school starts to have breakfast. The menu is there every day, Monday through Friday, but at the same time in the transition room where there are computers, and so another opportunity to kind of check out their homework. And that's great news. We have great news in a lot of different arenas, so that's there. And also, I left at your place tonight something that just came today, and perhaps some of you received it at home. It is from the MASC, and they send periodic newsletters about what things are going on in education at the federal level. And today, that particular newsletter talks about the confirmation hearings for our, what would seem to be our next Federal Secretary of Education, and some comments on that you might be interested in. So that's my report and other communication. And I will say that I certainly received many of the letters that both groups talked about tonight.
Now, communications. And of the letters we received, under 48 hours, we're going to go through a checklist of who got what, because we got a lot of things. So I wanted to keep that to, just so you guys know. I did want to address that, but want to go through that with all of us a little later.
Did
So,
somebody want to mention about the January enrollment?
yeah, Dot, did you have January enrollment information for us?
I didn't.
Okay, all right. So, communications received by the superintendent, the high school newsletter, you mentioned that, so, okay. All right, 6, unfinished business. To act on proposed revisions of section 3.7.5, public involvement of the school committee policy handbook, as recommended by the policy subcommittee. Aileen, want to take us through?
I think that really all I'm going to do is make a motion that we accept the change in 3.7.5 to add that sentence, anonymous communications will be disregarded at the end of paragraph 3. I don't know that we need to.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's go. New business. To act on a proposed warrant article to transfer $24,022 from the receipts reserved for the Appropriation Fund. John, do you want to
Sure, yeah, briefly.
take us
I'll
through?
just, so the next two items, actually, 7.1 and 7.2, there are two sort of housekeeping articles that we would typically have to put into the warrant to get the town to transfer money for insurance settlements that exceeded $20,000. The law has since changed, but previously the law said that if you have an insurance settlement for something that happened, we had a cracked boiler itself that cost over $44,000 to repair, and we also back in 2015, that winter, we had the sun reflector shades at the East School. They came down, and the estimated repair cost for that we received an insurance settlement for is about $24,000. We haven't done that project yet, but we have that on the agenda, so we'll be doing it this spring. So what happens when that occurs, the money goes into an account which is insurance in excess of $20,000. And we would do our project, but since we have a bigger budget, we would pay the funds out of our regular operating budget for both the boiler, which we did, and also for the sun reflector shades, which we will. And then we basically asked the town to say, will you give us this insurance money back and put it into the budget? It's sort of a housekeeping item. The law has since changed, so now that level has been raised to $150,000, so it's unlikely that we'll be going through this again unless we have really, major insurance. Because we have many settlements that are above the $20,000 threshold, but not a whole lot that exceed $150,000. And while the law has since changed, the fact that we got the money before the law changed, it would be good practice for us to ask for the money to be moved back into the budget. Then we know everything's clean. So that's what these two articles are really, and we've had them in the past. And it's just, we will pay out of our operating budget, this comes back and it reimburses our operating budget.
Do we need to vote on?
Yes, there's two articles, and the articles look like what you see, 7.1 and 7.2. They look like that in the warrant, and then there'd be an explanation, like somebody from advisory will talk to me about that, and they'll, put a standard recommendation in.
So I'll make a motion that we authorize a warrant article that will be an article for insurance recovery, asking will the town transfer a sum of money from the receipts reserved for Appropriation Fund insurance recovery in excess of $20,000 for use by the school department or act on anything relating thereto. And the actual amount equals $43,534.61 on this particular warrant article that we are seeking to recover.
That's for the south boiler. That's okay.
Yep,
I mean,
I've got them out of order, I apologize for that.
All right. Do we have a second on 7.2? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Then 7.1.
Then moving backwards, I apologize, I'll make a motion that we will authorize a second warrant article. This one will also be asking, will the town transfer a sum of money from the receipts reserved for appropriation fund insurance recovery in excess of $20,000 for use by the school department or act on anything relating thereto. This one is for a total of $24,022 for the East School sun reflector shades.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, 7.3, to discuss any additional town meeting warrant articles that the school committee may want to submit. Do we want to wait on this until after we do the capital budget discussion? Okay. So we will, let's go to 7.4, and we'll come back to 7.3 after we do 7.4 and 7.5.
I would say with respect to 7.3, there would be no intent of an action tonight. If there were an action you wanted to take, it would be Thursday, and the same thing on the capital budget.
So, anything on the facilities report, John? Or Ed, you want to?
Just a minute.
Yeah.
If we as a group have any intention, plan, thoughts, ideas of having a warrant article, the deadline at this point is January 20th.
Right.
Okay. Right, wrong, I'm not saying either way. If we bring this up, if we discuss 7.3 Thursday night, which would be what?
No, we're gonna talk about it after we talk about this later today.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, got it.
Yeah, we're not dismissing this, we're gonna come back to it. Okay. So, the facilities?
Yes, so
report?
these are just two. There was one that we put in the packet before, and then I received another one today, so we put that in the packet tonight. But these are the typical reports that we're now getting every month from Doug, where he tells us what he has completed in the month that was completed at the time. In this case, November projects that they had been completing, and then the December projects that they were going to move forward with. And then, just today, he sent us the December, I'm sure it's in another place in the agenda, but somewhere you got in your packet, the December projects that then have been completed and the January projects that they're working on. And we share this with the principals each month, and we also share it with the staff in the buildings. Today I had the Teachers Advisory Council come, and we're really proud of the amount of work that's getting done. And all of it, unbelievable to me really, is that it's all within budget, and it I think addresses a major concern that we always had about people would put in requests and never have a sense of when they were going to be addressed. And this is a big step, and I think it reflects a lot our new reorganization within the maintenance and custodial department, where Katie has direct supervision now for maintenance at all levels, and she's the go-to person and for the custodial tasks. So she's my new contact for the snow information. And just an example, Friday afternoon I got a list from Katie and an email and then a phone call reassuring me that tomorrow Dot will be here at 10. The storm was supposed to start at 11, and we will try to get the majority of the work done. And we will, and she notified me in the middle of the afternoon. We've got the major buildings open, and we will be here as long as it takes tonight to do the major thing. I got an email at 4 in the morning that said we worked until 2:30 this morning, and she goes around each building to be sure that all that stuff is really happening. And then we'll be back at 10 on Sunday morning to do some cleanup and to make sure the sports teams can get in. And we can't guarantee that we can be that efficient with every storm, and we lucked out that the storm was on Saturday, and the parking lots were empty. But, you know, that is her task in this on-site supervision, and we do a good job. And then she also supervises the general maintenance kinds of things, and Doug oversees the whole thing and looks at the big projects and sets the timelines and all of that. And then the person that we've advertised for and have received applications for will be the project manager, because some of the things such as purchasing a boiler and installing a boiler, so the firm, we assess, and Doug writes the RFP, we assess what we need and when it needs to be done, but then contractors come in, and somebody has to be there being sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and doing it well. And given at the elementaries, we have one custodian on per day during the day at each elementary school. You can't expect that person to be sitting monitoring what an outside contractor is doing. So it's much and lots of thanks, of course, to John, but it's a much better developed plan than we ever had. And as a result, more things are getting done, and they will be done well. Doesn't mean everything will happen when people want it, but I'm really proud of the operation we have and the progress that we made. So, and appreciation certainly to our ability to hire Doug, and of course he maintains the asset inventory and so on. Really well-oiled machine at this point.
Yeah, I would say that's a communication is excellent, and Doug was out there plowing too. He spent 10 hours plowing himself. I mean, because we're short a guy, so but yeah, it's a good organization, and it's come along, and they're very attentive to the things that got to get done. I get daily calls with Doug and Katie, keeping me updated on what's going on. It's very
and a lot
good
of it, of course, is
communication.
the preventive maintenance, and a
Right.
lot of it is also trying to get more of a sense of team, because they are a big part of our team. There was a training, all brought to a training, and Katie arranged for them to have a buffet breakfast over Christmas
Yep.
holiday when we needed to take advantage of the time when we could get people out of schools and into a good place. So training is up, and things are good.
John, one question, the new contract for the wastewater plant, is that something that you initiated, or was that something Doug initiated?
No,
Just
well,
out of
Doug's the
curiosity.
facility and procurement manager, so since he's been in, we've looked at a lot of vendors, and, we've switched over some vendors. And, and it's good that you look over, because we can be, you can get comfortable with your vendors, but if you don't check other vendors, we're never sure if we're getting the best price we possibly can get, so, I mean, this dropped about $4,000 off the bill. Whitewater had been increasing on us. We started with the middle school at a certain level, and then Whitewater said we needed more, so we got more, we ended up paying more. And then now we're paying, we started paying more, but said, okay, let's look at these other vendors too. And with the new procurement laws, take a look, let's take a look at 3. And it's like, okay, this one's good. So now we'll watch them and we'll monitor them. We'll make sure they're doing the job that's appropriate.
And they will know that as well.
Yeah, and, well, they always know, yeah, everybody knows they're getting watched now, because there's very strict, people come to the building, they have to sign in, people have to know they're there, we have to know what they did, we have to know what time they left. So the calls usually get dispatched really now from Barbara in the office, or from Doug or Katie, it's not like it's that, hey, just call this, and the person shows up and the head custodian says, oh yeah, this is a problem, goes off and does their thing, and the person's left alone. We're usually have a staff out there evaluating what the issue is. Is this something simple we can fix, or does this need a call? And then when the call goes in, we need this and we need you to do this. And we expect them to complete it. So it's working very, very good.
And even Barbara, we should mention Barbara Pye, who's the administrative assistant in that office, and also the person responsible for leasing the fields and those kinds of things. She's out in the field as well. She goes regularly to the different schools to clarify the requests they're making, and so, what kind of resources do we need to be able to follow through on this request? So very much of a team there, and that has not been the case.
And I think for the most part, too, morale is excellent, because people feel they're engaged and everybody's taking more ownership. So I think it's working very, very well.
Unless you all, including Donna, in this, think that things are so much better that we don't need that maintenance man that
No,
we've been
we
trying
do.
to get for many.
No,
We still
we
need that
do,
person.
we do.
We still need that.
We had hired a new maintenance person who unfortunately got injured this weekend. I just learned about that today. He was doing some shoveling. He's our plumber. So he saved us, he's a licensed plumber, he saved us money plumbing. But, he fell, so his knees are swollen, so we're looking into, gotta get an MRI, see how he is. knock on wood, he'll be okay and back in a few days, but, so now we're down to 2 maintenance people because we're
Well, I
short,
guess he can
we're
still
short
do
2
plumbing.
maintenance
We
people.
can find somebody else to shovel snow, but.
Well,
Kids don't do that
no,
anymore.
Yeah.
just for, so
My
the,
kids do.
so the call today was, hey, we need to get a sub or somebody else to fill in for maintenance, and maybe we can sub someplace else. Just the thought, because when we need, plowing or stuff like that, we need to have the force come together. So all of that is being pre-thought out. So, and that's what you need. You need a plan before we hit the emergency, so. Yes, me too.
Okay, moving on to 7.5, to receive and discuss the capital budget for fiscal year 2018 as recommended by the Long Range Planning Subcommittee. So, Ed.
Guess what I have for you folks, though? Big copy.
Oh, yay!
This was hard to read.
Donna, I only have a small copy for you, just simply because I didn't make the big copy. You know why? Because
We don't have copy people either.
you know what it is, Donna? It's not approved yet, and I have a meeting with Capital Outlay next Thursday, next Wednesday, excuse me. And you're right. So, yeah, these
Thank
should be.
you. Oh,
So-
a little easier and everything.
I'm just gonna turn this off because I can't deal with
I'm
the
gonna
print.
need
Thank
the,
you.
I'm gonna need that.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
I don't even
Well, I'll
need my
leave it on, 'cause
glasses
there
for
are
that.
people in the
That's
audience who
Thank you.
need to see it as well as they can.
One of my posters. It's all the same number, so it's just helpful. I have small copies that I made. I'll give you a small copy. I just got a quick printer.
But John,
Yeah.
I'm gonna use the one with my notes on it, so Donna can use this for the meeting.
I mean,
okay.
I have them
it's all
already
right.
made.
It's easy to look at.
Ouch.
You all right?
No.
I have that. Thank you. I have it,
You
John.
have it?
I printed it out.
Thank you. I'll check my bag.
Don't walk away with it. Yep.
So it's you.
Well, I'll give it to you in a minute, John.
Okay.
This is the worksheet that the subcommittee came up with last week, that we will take in when we meet the capital outlay committee, the full capital outlay committee, next week. And we did some house cleaning, we did some reductions, we did some eliminations, maybe an add or two, I don't really remember. The numbers correspond to my worksheets. So do you want to just run through the various schools and ideas, John?
Yeah, sure. Many of you are familiar with the format. So this is the 5-year capital forecast, if you will. It exists. It includes what we have already appropriated for 2017. And then the 2018 column there is what we start working on this year. 2019, 20, 21, 22. Typically, when I get a new item, what I will do is in my database, I'll go out and I'll, sometimes I have things in this database that may be set for 2023. So I'll take the item and I could put 2023, or I'll put the year out when that might have to be done. For example, we'll have to, do the track over again at some point, or, at one point, we had the tennis courts sitting in there, but, it was pushed out because we had over 5 years. So any item that I get that I know will have to be replaced at some point, I'll just put a line item into my sort of database. It's not a great database. I mean, it's a manual spreadsheet, and I work it, and I have to manage it. But I'll put the date then that it's supposed to come up. And what happens is over the years, many things will sort of roll forward. So 22 will go to 21, go to 20, as it doesn't actually, I'm sorry, as 18 comes up, those items that I programmed for 18 will start showing up, or I may push an item. I may say I get a new item this year, and I'd say, okay, that's interesting. I understand you need it. Is it urgent? Is it broken right now? And I may add it to the database, and I'd say, okay, I'm going to take that, but I'm going to put that out in 2019 right now, because what I want to do is I want to make the capital outlay committee and the public aware of all the capital items that we have in the pipeline. So of course, when we get into 2019, that one would automatically roll forward. So when we start the year, 17 is already appropriate, 18, we had a lot of things roll forward. So at that point, we sort of look and see, what is it that has rolled forward, and, would make adjustment. Do we need it now? Should we push it off? Should we keep it? Okay, so that's sort of the way this works. Literally any capital item that I get aware of, I can put onto this sheet, and I can stick a date to it. If it's within the 5 years, it may show up. If it's not within the 5 years, it won't show up. And then I take it and put it into a pivot table by school. So the items as we go down, as you look down the 2018 column, those articles that you see up above the very top, that's just a reminder to me to make sure I do those articles that we just did to move the money. I don't want to put dollars in there because it'll make the total look like it's bigger. Just jump to the last page for a second so you get the whole total here. The Long Range Planning Committee, we started at about 1.5 million. And, at the last meeting, I say, well, we should try to get it down to about 1.1 million before we take it to capital outlay. Because 1.5 million, we're not going to get 1.5 million. 1.1, maybe, but this is probably going to have to be reduced even further. So we really got together, and maybe we've been together 3 or 4 times, discussing little pieces of it. Last week we had got it down to, at one point we probably were up around $2 million. Last time we were at 1.5, and we worked it to reduce the items to 1.1. And the reductions we eliminated some things, say this is a maintenance item, so we took it off. Or we said, let's push this out to 19, or, let's push it out to 19, or take them off for the most part. Or, it's really tough decisions, okay? So as you read down this, we can go quickly over some of the items. I don't know if you want to go over every item, okay, but quickly over some of the items. For example, the East, the 16.5 that you see in East, that's rolled forward from 2019. And that's just to help the energy recovery units get connected to the energy management system within the school. The connection's supposed to be there, but it has been failing, so this would be money to get it connected so that, we can manage the rooftop air handlers from the system.
From inside.
From inside the system, yeah, instead of having to go to the rooftop, right. The playground area, we had a couple of playground items, both at a cost of $9,500, because there's been erosion within the inner playground at East School. At the sitting wall, which is at the hill, that was sitting in there, and it was moved forward to 2018. But however, since then, we've been shown a new erosion area, which is closer to the building, which is more severe actually, because it's now a danger where there's a pipe protruding from the ground, and the soil's eroding very, very quickly. So what we did was push out the 9,500 for the sitting wall, but we put in a 9,500 this landscape erosion wall inner playground building side. That's more important. So we took that 95 there, but we pushed the other one off, which we think is still necessary because we're gonna get erosion, we're gonna continue to get erosion until we get these things fixed. The ADA compliance, you all aware of the playground issues we've had, or, you know, the siting that we've got, but from the Architectural Access Board. So in this plan, there's 4 ADA items, one for each of the elementary schools in priority order. They're not all sitting in this year. Okay, they're sitting in the year where I plan to ask for a variance from the Architectural Access Board to deal with East this year, to deal with South next year, to deal with Plymouth River the year after, and to hold Foster out for 5 years. But you'll see the number in Foster.
What's the difference of this playground surface at East versus the blue surface replacement? The rubber, the ADA rubber.
The 6,800 one?
Yeah, what's the difference between the 6,800 one and the 51,000?
Okay, so the 6,800 one, we already have rubber there.
Right.
And there was a gap
Yeah,
resulting, okay?
Okay.
So this 6,800 is just to fill the gap.
okay. And then
Okay.
do we have to replace?
No, the 5,100 is for the other area of the playground that does not have poured-in-place rubber. Yes.
Across the road? We
Yes,
have to put-
across the road, yes.
Give access to.
Yes. They have to have access to everything.
Chips are,
And the law
Okay.
gives you a number of options, the federal guidelines give you a number of options for doing that. By having a hard surface, by having, you know.
Asphalt, stone dust.
Yeah.
But
But our Massachusetts Architectural Access Board says that we need to have a poured rubber.
they haven't said poured-in-place rubber, but your choices are stone dust or asphalt, or poured-in-place rubber, so. The wood fiber filling that we have is nationally approved for wheelchair access, but it's not accepted by the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board. So you'll see, you know, items, there. This is one of the lowest ones, East, and it's sort of one of the straightforward ones. I believe another like Plymouth River was probably 88,000, and I think South is in the 70,000 somewhere. But you'd see those as we go. Yeah, Plymouth River I got here for 88,000, and South is probably in the 70,000s.
This is in addition to the many steps that we did take during this year. We had a playground consultant come, she went to every building, and we've made a lot of changes in the other things that they cited that needed to happen. We're still working on some of those, so we've made a lot of progress, and we did it with the resources that we had, both people and money this year. But this is really the big item, and we have to do it over time.
The plumb and scanaway fill, yes.
So you said that there's work that needs to be done that for the ADA compliance on the different schools, but not all of them are going to be done this year?
That's correct.
So I'm just curious why you chose East for this year versus the other schools?
Well, I think I chose East this year because the cost is less and the project is very straightforward on what we have to do. So, you look at the budget years and stuff, it's like, and plus too, I don't want to drop it, capital outlay wants to know about these things. We sort of basic.
This
we
is
gave
new to them.
We gave them a high level at the walk around when we did it in November, saying we have these playground issues that, we have to deal with and stuff. But I didn't want to drop $200,000 in this year. Plus too, from a manpower, this poured-in-place stuff has to be done with the ambient temperatures. It has to be done, during the time when you can actually pour the rubber. We'd want to get it all done before school completes. So, and we've had a consultant sort of looking at the thing. We don't have any formal designs yet, but this is how we ended up getting the estimate. So, there's a labor element to it because we would do some stuff. This is just for the poured-in-place rubber. We would have a machine go there, take out all the wood fiber and stuff, and move it to a different location so that the surface gets prepped for the people that will go in and they may have to put a different foundation down and then pour the stuff in place. So there's a manpower element of our own that's included in this number. And we only have so much capacity. So there has to be some, a plan to here's how we plan to do it, and, you know, the playgrounds are good playgrounds. The wood fiber that's there is nationally accepted for wheelchair accessibility. This is, you know, Massachusetts saying, you know, you basically have to have poured-in-place rubber. They didn't come out and say you have to have poured-in-place rubber, but the alternatives they give you say you need to have poured-in-place rubber. So, you know, I think that we have an obligation to, like, move in that direction. And I can't see how we could get it all done in a year, you know, with all the other big items that we have to do, you know, because it all takes time and attention.
And the other buildings are complex. Plymouth River has multiple playground areas, so you've got to get basic access to the area and then to the equipment there. That's complex, and Foster is complex for a similar reason, and also we're beginning to talk about what is the future of Foster and investment of large amounts of money. South has multiple playground areas, so we go with the easiest one first. We may learn some things that will better inform us about the more complicated ones.
Yeah, and plus we already have a section there, so it could be a good playground. It's like, okay, hey, here, we have an ADA accessible playground. This is how we do it. Here's a quick one. Here, it's ready. It's available to everybody. You know, if our kids need the playground, and if there is anybody that, you know, we would make accommodations so that anybody can, and we give them assistance, so anybody can partake of, you know, all of the things that we have. But, you know, from the public, at least there would be one here. This is totally compliant. You know, it meets all the regulations. So there's a place for them to go, and then next year we'll get another one, and the year after that we'll get another one.
If you want to see what this poured-in-place paths look like, wait till we have a meltdown and go up to the Crest Playground on Upper Gardner. And you'll see the interface between the chips and the poured-in-place, because it's a meandering, snaking path.
But that was $135,000. That was $135,000.
Maybe Thursday after
with
the
the
15th.
that was $135,000 that they paid for that playground, with a community build. Okay, we're not doing community build here. We just need to get a contract to come and do it. And you know, the town helped excavate and remove some stuff. So, you know, those costs weren't included in the 135. So you look at the scale of that, and then you look at the size of our playgrounds, and you'll get an idea as to, you know, why this adds up to a lot of money. These scan-away filters, just a quick on East, I don't plan to go over every one, but that's a new item, and that is to put a filter onto the retention water system, the recovery system. Didn't have filters in it, so the flushometers get clogged up, and we're constantly kind of cleaning the flushometers or replacing them at $270 per whack. So this would put scan-away filters.
What number is that, John?
This was number 21. The $12,000. That's a new item. Capital hadn't seen that item yet. Okay, so but that's sort of a critical one for this year. I think I make mention of one thing here. If you look on page, the second page, line 28, and these are for, you know, okay, you may not have seen this stuff yet, but there's a $30,000. In Foster, I don't have any identified projects, but we know there's gonna be problems. Okay, so I'm asking for $30,000 because I know there's gonna be steam pipe leaks. I mean, we had 3 already.
Since the
year.
walk-around.
Yeah, since the walk-around, right.
Oh,
And, you know, so we managed to, you know, resolve them. I don't know
We're
what
not
the cost
attached to
is
children
yet.
or-
John, you did that last year and didn't that get shot down?
Well, it's gonna get shot down, Carol, but I have to ask.
Oh, I agree. I
Right.
think it's,
I-
I'm just trying
I'm
to refresh our
hopeful-
memory
I
about
am
how that was
hopeful
handled.
That because of the walk-around and actually showing the idea of the steam pipes going and then significant expense, that they will say, yeah, maybe we should give you some capital money
And the fact it's
for
already happened
Foster,
this year.
because, you know, that is gonna happen, and I don't think 30,000 is an unreasonable amount.
Okay.
So, I don't know, but I have to ask for it.
Nope, I agree.
There's nothing else sitting there in Foster.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna address the outer years. This will be, you know, what we'll have, when we meet with Capital next Wednesday, Capital will, they take these out of years, and it all appears in the warrant, and they'll be looking and say, oh, well, you know, did you still need this? You missed this, okay? So we'll have a conversation, and by the end, the outer years will all be sort of in sync with previous years and include the new items that I've included. Okay, let's see. Some of them are basic ones. We get into the high school area, the open network architecture, that 20,000, that's to continuously evolve the energy management system within the buildings. Request for floors to be refinished, that has moved forward. There's a new carpet item in there, though. The carpet items, one carpet item has moved forward, but a new carpet item has been asked for this year for the guidance into the main office area at a cost of $35,000. So what I did is I took that, but we pushed it out to 19, so that at least they get to see it. Next year, that'll, in the 19 budget, that will show in 19, and we'll decide then, do we keep it at 19 or do we push it out to 20? There's design money in here for the Health and Wellness Center. So initially, the design amount was $232,000. We had talked about that, and what we recently did was reduce that to the $89,500, which would be able to do a shortened sort of feasibility or design on that, so we could get better information to give to the public for the next year. So that's included. Now last year, that was an article that we were planning to perhaps put into the warrant, but it didn't. It never made the warrant. So we didn't get any article in there. So this year it's in capital. So at least we talk about it and tell people about it again, whether it should be an article or a request.
Can we just stop and just talk about that among ourselves? John mentioned it already, but when we did the first go-around on the capital budget, the subcommittee, we included phase 3 for the Health and Welfare Center study, and in fact, we deleted that and just left phase 2, which is the $89,500. Now, that's in the capital budget, subject to, I don't know, the meeting that we have with capital outlay. The other, I myself am on record and would like to suggest that we keep this idea in the town's eye, out of sight, out of mind. It's not unreasonable. In fact, it's been suggested to me that maybe we would consider doing a warrant article. So I'm just bringing this subject up to which is why I misspoke earlier. So let me hear some thinking about this. What are your thoughts? I mean, if it stays here, that's terrific. There's a deadline of the 20th of this month for a warrant article. Last year, there were 2 warrant articles that made it past the deadline, one for 84 and then one for a larger total, both of which were not looked on favorably by the Board of Selectmen nor the AdCom, and were simply withdrawn. So there were articles placed, but they really didn't go very far. So what are people's thinking on this? I hate to, I mean, let's be honest, I don't know if this 89.5 is going to pass muster with the Capital Outlay Committee. I guess that's my point. And if it doesn't, and we don't have an article in place, a warrant article in place, it's out of sight, out of mind.
Can I ask I'm going to ask John a question because I don't remember. When Capital Outlay approves our budget, is it a number similar to the operating budget? Or so that if they say they sliced off 200,000 off of the total, is it then up to us to decide how to spend the remaining monies among the capital items?
Right. Well, so that's a yes and no, Carol. So basically, they'll take our list and they'll say, we're giving you this, we're giving you that. Sometimes, I mean, they started a practice. Sometimes they reduce things arbitrarily on us. Okay, so but they do it based on the item, so that they show this is what we didn't sort of go for. But when that translates into an appropriation to the school committee, the money is appropriate to the school committee and it can be spent how the school committee sees fit.
And they ask our input as they're narrowing down
Yeah.
what are our biggest priorities and so
Right.
on. So there's a back and forth about it.
And we try to be in communication, saying, hey, we're gonna spend this money. If we had to spend the money somewhere else, you know, we would try to communicate and say, listen, we're gonna spend the money this way.
It's
Just
like,
so we're
in my
open with
mind,
it.
this has an educational component, maybe different than
Which
some.
also is in the budget.
Some other items
Staff.
that may be on here, whereas it's, you know, strictly, I mean, we're trying to achieve something with our change in our program at the high school. We really can't accomplish that until we get this kind of piece
Right.
placed. So, I mean, that affects, I think, sort of our strategy on whether we want a warrant article or not.
Yep.
That answer.
And we certainly don't want to say if we don't get this from capital, then we wouldn't request the teacher. Because we're gonna request the teacher and change the program. We just can't do it in the most efficient way without more space.
Well, I guess it would be interesting at some point then to hear what your priorities are, because if capital doesn't approve this number, but gives us an amount of money that we feel that we still want to go forward with this expenditure, because we feel that it's a priority for us, I guess I would like to hear if the committee would be comfortable doing that. I certainly would be, because I think spending money is that's what our job is,
I
deciding
think
how
there's
much to
another
spend.
philosophical piece too. It's somewhat a matter of money, but I know that Ted has expressed the belief to us that things that are going to be possible precursors of a larger project really should be aired in the public, and that he is therefore would prefer warrant items that everybody might get to see. And we went that route last year, were unsuccessful. In the case of Plymouth River Windows, it was really because the selectmen were not able to sign off on that project. So then the warrant item became irrelevant. And in the case of the other, both selectmen and AdCom determined that, you know, that was not a item that should go forward, and they make those decisions.
Carlos, did you?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of having him here so it doesn't lose up the eyesight. We have been told that, you know, this is gonna be a tough year. So introducing as a warrant article, I think that would be a problem. I mean, I don't think the community would vote in favor again. And I think being slapped against for the second time, in my opinion, wouldn't be a good thing. So, yeah, I'm sort of like, you know, almost didn't want to see that here. I would like to see something happen at the facility, because obviously it's in tough shape.
Yeah.
But
it depends.
leave it here.
Okay, what's your
We perhaps should have, since there's going to be a split, and some of it based upon what capital outlay says about this next week, but we only have a couple of days after capital outlay, so capital outlay could say, this should be a warrant item, and then it would be good to have wording that we could move quickly on,
Yeah,
if
that's-
that's the case.
Aileen, did you have?
Well, because I was just gonna say, to play devil's advocate a little bit, I mean, I'm very passionate about this particular project and always have been, but to put in capital a large sum of money to do a design for something that then would have to become a warrant article to go further, I just feel like after especially what Dot said about what, you know, Ted's reaction to these kinds of things are, we've now spent potentially $89,000 on something, and then we go to town and they don't vote for it, and then people are gonna say, well, you wasted $89,000 because you should have come here because we never would have voted for it. That just makes me a little bit nervous with putting it in capital and not a warrant article.
We also know that Ted is working on a thought that he has to move into one big warrant article to cover a lot of things. The problem is the timeline. What strategy can we use to make sure that we get at least the most exposure to this idea? And there are a lot of moving parts.
The other issue is always, then you can't tell people what it's gonna cost unless you have some of this design money. It's like, you know, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, would we be losing I can see it both ways, but we did do a presentation at the end of town meeting last year, even though there wasn't a warrant article, telling everyone about it. So, you know, is the momentum gonna go away if it's not a warrant article? You know, are people gonna say, well, wait a minute, you know, what happened to that? Anyway, I guess I would err on the side of warrant article, just to keep it in the public eye.
I would think it should be a warrant article for the reason of it's the continuation of a project that would then be excluded debt and be part of a warrant article. And then that money would get wrapped into that total cost of that project.
And also,
but
Ed could use that if in fact he is going to move forward.
Yeah, I think that, I mean,
I don't think we're not gonna get a warrant article for this year.
I mean, I think there's precedent of projects getting design money to get going and get an understanding of the scope. Now, whether we're at the same priority level as the Fire Station Committee and others' perception of this, but I think, you know, it's a tough one because is it really a capital item?
I think, to your point, Carol, about having the money, I don't think there is room in this capital 2018 budget to find that amount of money if we were given a certain sum and could use that money at our discretion. I don't think there's that much money in that budget. Assuming it's going to get cut, even without it being cut, I don't think there's that much money, you know, leeway in any of the schools to cut what we need to do. So I would rather have it'll be more public if we even just get it to the selectmen, just at more meetings on television, you know, the more public we can make it.
How do you think though that their decision's gonna be any different than it was last year?
I don't, but my point is, I'd rather just have that a little more publicity. I'd rather have something, and if that's what we can get, then I just don't think
haven't
we
really
can.
heard people asking about it. I don't know if the interest is really there, and I don't think we're gonna get the support from the selectmen, so I'm kind of siding with Carlos and Aileen, you know, why?
Oh, no,
why
I
let
want to
us-
do a warrant article. I don't want to let it just go by the
Yeah,
wayside.
I'm not in favor.
I don't want it to die. I just don't know that it being in the operating budget is the right place.
Well,
capital.
I mean, the capital budget is the right place.
Just an FYI, the first, the 89.5 is, in my terminology, phase 2. Phase 1 was funded by a $25,000 capital outlay amount of money.
It's true, I
Yeah,
forgot
that's
about
a good
that.
point.
But then
So-
it
so
was
there's
questioned
a
of whether it
precedent-
should be in
there's a
there or
precedent
not.
there for having this project meander through the capital outlay.
But after that happened, there was question of should it have been in there or not.
And a general
Questioned
question,
it.
not just
Well, the only
about
question
this,
was it was
but
cut in
Well,
half.
it was cut in half, but it was
No,
still.
then I heard from Ted that, you know,
Well,
is that a capital item or not?
Guess
So-
capital outlay thought it was,
Right.
because they
That's something I
voted for it.
haven't heard, but.
haven't heard
Right.
that.
yeah, he did make that point that really the public should be more able to weigh in on things that have the potential to be a major request from them. And
But then the
earlier
public
debate,
will ask,
we didn't
what's it
see
going to
this.
cost? And we get back to, like,
As always.
we just need that first step to present
No,
information.
I'm not disagreeing,
and-
I'm just saying that message was sent to us and to.
Yeah.
But Carlos, weren't you saying that you didn't think it should be a warrant article, that you?
That's right.
That you thought it should be in here?
I thought it should be in here.
Right.
I mean, here's the thing, I mean, I'm not sure to spend any money there right now, just because altogether, I'm against spending any money at the Health and Wellness Center at this moment, just because we are waiting to see what's gonna happen with the Bill Culver development. We don't know what's gonna happen with the either Foster or Plymouth River. So I think, you know, I mean, there's a lot of going on. Then now the fire stations, but I was convinced by, you know, the other two members of the Long Range that we should not drop this out of eyesight. So that is why I agreed to have it here. But I would completely be against being a warrant article.
So,
Yeah, I'm not in favor of the
when's
warrant
the
article.
capital outlay meeting?
Wednesday, Wednesday the 18th.
The 18th.
At 7:30.
There seems to be a movement afoot, and maybe Dr. Gallo or Liza can chime in on this, because I've just become aware of this in the last couple of days, about the possibility of a warrant article that would have several studies involved in it, the enrollment study, and so on and so forth. Is that?
And, well, we only know a bit about that. Ted shared with Liza and with me this thought that he had, but he had not yet talked to either the Board of Selectmen or the Advisory Committee on that. And so it is a concept that he has that, seemed to have some merit for discussion. But time's getting short, and that's why we're
hot off the
getting
press.
action.
He's going to do that presentation to the Board of Selectmen this Thursday night. I just found that out this afternoon.
Okay.
I don't.
So we have to decide, how can we be best poised to know what their reaction will be to that.
Exactly. Well, we've talked about it,
Well,
so
this
that
seems to
satisfies
be,
that requirement.
seems to be more of a safety of the number here with perhaps less work for people as opposed to a warrant article, which is, and then if he goes forward with his proposal, then obviously.
Or if capital says
this could come off and be on
this
Ted's.
could be list. We just need to be prepared to move quickly, I guess.
It would be good if we had a draft of a warrant article that we could.
Well, we had
approve on
last year,
January
certainly, just
19th.
changing the number.
And
I'll take care
so
of it.
see how capital goes and see how the
Yeah.
selectmen's meeting goes,
Yeah.
and then on this
Yeah,
one
we're all
item,
good
then
with
we
that?
can
All right.
wait till the very last moment to
Can we find
make a
from Donna
decision.
whether that presentation has happened yet at AdCom? Ted talking about this concept? It has not.
Oh.
Well, I heard about it this afternoon.
Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So we're gonna, further discussion as we move along.
Well, we have
at
the
our-
opportunity to discuss
on that
it
one
on
item.
Thursday night.
Yeah, we can
Then-
talk about it
Thursday-
Thursday and the following Thursday if we
Yeah.
need to.
Yes.
I mean, Thursday, I think you take a vote saying this list, take to capital, or this list less this, take to capital. I mean, I think that's what we should try to do Thursday. So you've already, we've already briefed you, just so that the long-range planning, when they go to capital, it has the support of the entire committee.
And
Or
if
the
anyone-
committee's adequately voted for.
If anyone has questions about any specific thing, should they talk to one of us in Long Range, or should they call you?
I'm happy to.
Okay.
They talk to me,
So one thing I'm noticing, so you have in here, which is new, under technology, 5-year schedule 163 and 4.
What's the number?
163 and 4.
163 and 4.
Thank you.
So you're putting in a placeholder for one-to-one devices?
Yes, let me clarify that. We met earlier in the fall because we've always said, when we get to the 3-year point, we need to think about the Chromebook replacement. And should that be a lease or should that be an annual purchase? Which is what it has been until now, although some are funded obviously by the school building group. But we talked a lot about it in the fall, and we said, by the end of this year, Chromebooks for the current 8th graders will be 2 years and roughly 2 months of use. So we haven't even had the 3 years to know best what the value is. And we also talked a lot about the fact that with a lease, there would be no value left. They would be removed, we get new Chromebooks. But as we look at things like replacing laptop, Chromebook carts in the buildings, as we look particularly at things like trying to provide some equity, especially at the high school, for students. Most students have access to computers, and most of them access to a smartphone. But not every child has a device that he or she solely can control and bring to school. So that when we have 300 of these Chromebook devices, some of them are going to be in pretty decent shape and can be recycled for other things. That would not be the case if we were leasing. So we said we should make a year-by-year decision until we know more. So for this year, we're saying, let's buy the set of Chromebooks, again, for the incoming class, and let's recycle those that are still in good shape, usable shape, to other purposes, whether filling in spares on carts, whether having more loaners at the middle school, because we continue to hear that on any given day, you know, somebody forgot theirs, somebody else didn't charge theirs, whatever. That we need more loaners so that we don't waste time in the morning making sure everybody has something. And then to also, in a different place here, to think about what we would need for that equity factor that's particularly important at the high school, where we don't have the one-to-one that we provide.
So is that high school money parked into this line?
No. So the technology budget is in three parts, really. One part is the amount of money that Joe receives every year for infrastructure thing, for replacing whole labs, that kind of thing, for new switches and things that he needs.
That's line 160.
That's line 1.
And that's always been a year-by-year request.
Right.
But you really need to think in terms of, over the 5-year period, what are the major things that might have to happen in technology? Not just replacing a switch, but if a whole new technology comes along, like radio, rather than things in the ceiling to connect. So that he put together a 5-year plan for all of our infrastructure. And we hadn't had that before. We had a number. We didn't have a plan. So there's that. And then responding to our most recent technology plan is this notion of what are the kinds of things that we need to take care of. And there were really 3 things we came up in the first year. One was the equity piece.
Right.
One was that as the high school is growing, and by another 39 or so kids in the coming year, we have teachers that teach in more than one room and even more than 2 rooms and 3 or 4 different rooms. Teachers every day use the smart board. Teachers every day use X2. Getting laptops for teachers. Now, and mainly not Chromebooks for that function, because they have to hook into things like X2 and so on.
So that's the 162 line?
Yep.
Okay.
Right. And the third thing was that we've always known that one device isn't the only device that we should be using. We know that in science they need both iPads for the lab connections, but also Chromebooks for the writing component. And the math department in particular has been working a lot with tablets, mainly iPads. And each year they piloted a different thing. So that's kind of the new initiative in terms of technology, the equity, and so that's a separate item.
So the line.
And then the purchase of the Chromebooks for the middle school.
So that's 162, which Dutch
Right.
just said, and the 164 is the replacement of the infrastructure. And
Joe's.
the laptop and the Chromebook replacement program.
So, but what's the difference of,
John, would you please repeat what's in which one?
Okay, 160 is the baseline technology. That's what we need every year just to keep things moving. 162 is that those pilot programs and the enhancements and the new initiatives and the traveling teachers and the loaner equipment when the kids move from a one-to-one device and they go to the high school and they don't have a device.
so it's like a high school plan?
That's good. That's a high school plan, yes.
Yeah.
And then 163 is the overall replacement of the infrastructure. So that's
5
the
years.
Chromebook replacement program, in addition to UPS replacements, switch replacements, because these things are aging. So, you know, Joe has put together a good, thoughtful 5-year plan on when the major infrastructure of our network has to be changed out, and that's included in, you know, that line 164.
But that, so then, but
That
the,
doesn't cover, that's not covered in 160.
right, but the Chromebook replacement doesn't kick in until FY19.
There's, I'd have to look, I think.
Because what's the difference of the 102 and the 228?
I think the
No,
one.
there's different components. They all have
Okay.
Chromebook replacements, but there's different numbers based on enrollments.
Okay.
Okay, so
no,
they all
there's
have
some.
they all have a Chromebook replacement portion to them, but then they have UPS replacements,
Yeah.
switch replacements.
Okay.
So that's why the numbers vary.
So this year, the 102, I think we talked about last week, is pretty much just Chromebooks.
Mostly about
Oh,
89,000
okay.
and
And then
UPS
the
is so
next year,
Cynthia.
19, is all this
Yeah.
extra
Okay.
infrastructure
Right.
stuff.
All right.
That
Okay.
bumps
So-
it up so much.
Yeah, 102 is Chromebooks, I think about 89,000, and then the
Yeah.
rest is UPSs, like uninterrupted power supplies and other, like, network equipment that is becoming obsolete and has to be changed out. So, and then the same the next year, how many Chromebooks do we need? It may not always be $89,000,
Right.
it would be different based on I'm sure he looked at the
Well, the
enrollment of the
incoming
kids.
classes
Yeah.
are less,
Like
yeah.
Yes,
Like
you know.
2021 goes down to 82, so
So,
that's-
so then the Chromebooks that they're turning in, that are 3 years old, and that still work,
Yep.
what are we gonna do with them? Or are we gonna?
Well, we're gonna leave some of them at the middle
Middle
school
school, okay,
as
so you have
loaners.
more, yeah.
Like we need 20 a day, maybe we
Yeah.
need 40 a day. We're gonna make sure that we have everything that we need for the testing with
Okay.
spares
Yep,
in the buildings.
okay.
And we're going to create some additional carts. So we didn't put in
Okay.
a thing for more carts at the high school, but we have requests for those.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna try to create usable carts.
Okay.
And use them that way. And some will, I'm sure, not be usable at all.
Right.
And they're not worth repairing, they're inexpensive devices, and then, well,
Thank you for
we'll
clarifying
see.
that.
But we need to look at that on a year-by-year
Year by
basis.
year, yeah.
As we have more information over time.
Do you think if, once we kind of cycle through a quantity of them, will we ever consider like a buyout? Even if it's a family that buys it,
we
like a
need that to
certain,
be on the table
for
every year.
$50 or something like that, if they
And
wanted to, or?
we may find that at the end of this year, people might say to us, look, I'm one of those people that my child doesn't have a device, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
And we would be in a position, which we wouldn't be in if we went to a lease thing, to say,
Right.
yeah, let's talk about that. So it doesn't have to be a dead discussion as we approach the end of the year.
No,
Because
I
if
like
those
filling in our
youngsters-
gaps, but I also
If some of
think,
those
yeah.
youngsters are coming from
Yeah.
our middle school to our
Yeah.
high school, then they wouldn't even have to turn them in over the
Right.
summer. And
Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
need to continue that discussion.
That would certainly, that's,
I don't know what we
we
have to
just
declare
declare them
surplus
surplus.
and
And, and for sale to, for
We
at a
could say
price of
we've
$50
made
or
our
whatever
plan for what
to
we
any
need.
family that wants to purchase one.
And-
But parents
You know,
have
we think
asked,
there were-
parents have asked if they could get a discount through us, right, to buy.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
some conversation about that,
yeah. So,
but not used though.
okay, well, we'll keep
Yeah,
it on the
this-
list
this-
of discussion items, but,
Just for the record, last year Capital gave us 918, is that right? That's what the capital number last year was?
867?
867 last year.
It's 867,155.
67,
Because it's right there at the bottom.
Oh, yeah,
of the
right,
page.
right, right.
Yeah.
That was on the
The year
old spending
before,
plan
Cynthia, there
where
was
we
like
got-
970, I think, but that
Oh, that's what I was
170,000 of that was for the depot parking lot paving.
Got it, all right, that's what I was thinking.
John, would you refresh my memory on what 186 is?
186. Is that line 186?
The last one.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Boston.
That started
No.
over there. Yeah, I didn't, so I said we didn't need anything at Foster but the $30,000, but.
We don't need
that is-
anything but
that-
$730,000.
In FY '19, there's a $1 in there, and that $1 really is the cost of a feasibility study for a new school at Foster.
Okay.
And that was an
Okay.
important number for us to get, because
Yeah.
if Ted were to move forward with his plan, he'd be,
Yeah.
at our door saying, so what's the number? that I'm
Right.
gonna
That's
put in?"
new.
So
That's good.
that I
Thank you.
took from MSBA comps, I looked at the, schools of comparable size and stuff, and, it seemed like a real big number. I can't get it down anymore. I
Yeah.
have to use that
Yeah.
number.
And that
You
is
know
what
I
they
mean? It was-
recommend that you do.
It was,
that would definitely
So
be
there's the number,
Yeah.
but we didn't put it in this because then it would just inflate one of the bottom line numbers to a very large number. But that would be the cost of a feasibility for OPM and designer, with bid specs and the whole thing, like to build a new school.
And you guys got, I forwarded to you the MSBA announcement of the window opening. and
SOIs, yeah.
On the, from the town side, on the Plymouth River project, the Broad Cove 40B project is still under review by the ZBA, so, we don't know
They say
what
May.
the
We
status
won't know
of that, so, and then there would be, if the agreement with the selectmen goes through, then, there was money allocated for the Plymouth River repairs, so that would really be next year as opposed to doing that this year, because we gotta make sure that that's gonna happen. And then whether we go ahead with Foster or not, I know that a lot of people on the town side see that as a priority. And I believe that MSBA window for new schools the application was by April, but, I don't think we can get our act together for that, but, definitely looking at maybe next year, we have to figure out with, we committed to doing the enrollment study and,
And
a
also
lot of things
the-
up in the air, but I think we need to prepare ourselves that within the shorter time span.
And also, the
Get ready.
MSBA was here a month or so ago to visit all of our schools, and we don't expect to get that report until June. I spoke to Debbie, with Debbie a lot today about that, and they were very thorough there. They were very impressed with the seniority of our staff that allows memory and records to go back. They talked about going to districts where there's a lot of turnover, and so they can't get all the information they need. But for elementary schools, we've got great continuity, and they had got the records and the information they needed, so it makes for a better report, I would guess, in the end. But we won't know about that until June.
Yeah.
Just talk about the Plymouth River money, and one of the meetings, Kara mentioned that we'll ask Ted about why couldn't he have given the money to the school committee versus telling us exactly what to go. So I believe the long range, we had a discussion that what would people think in the school committee in terms of going back to them and actually asking for the money to be given to the school committee. That's fine, that's spent at Plymouth River, but that they don't dictate that it has to be for the windows. What would be the feeling of this body for us to go back and fight that and push that back a little bit? But now I also heard that perhaps we're not going to get the $1 million at once. Is that true?
Yes, John made that, John commented on that last time.
Yeah, I think
It'll come in
potentially
in
it could be
increments.
an
I think-
installment, but, the town can manage the money for a project that, you take out debt and it gets paid over years as well, so I don't think that that's an impediment. I believe, my understanding is the money was toward Plymouth River School. I think if we know we need the windows, and I think if it turns out there's a roof too,
Well, I think Ted
don't
did
think
say when I
that's
asked
not-
him, he's like, as long as you're spending the money at Plymouth River.
yeah, I don't think that's
I don't
that
think it
big
was
of an
specified,
issue,
right.
yeah.
But, you have to see what the actual agreement says
Yeah.
with them. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's spelled out somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen the agreement. So.
I would.
And I don't think it's as simple as
Can I
going
say
back
some-
and
one thing on the
reopening it.
SOI, in that the new school SOI is April.
Right.
I know you may feel it's pressed for time, but, it might be good to sort of get it in queue, because we don't know what the response to the MSBA is going to be. And I'm thinking about anything we can do to start marching down the road for Foster, because, might be 5 years down the road anyways if we start right now,
You're talking about an SOI for the windows?
No,
No.
I was talking about an SOI for a building, because it's not due till April. I don't know if there's a possibility of getting an, approval or stuff like that between now and April.
What do we need for an SOI?
Yeah.
What's an SOI? A statement of interest to the MSBA. If the town is sort of in agreement that we should be marching down the road. Because it's gonna, we don't know when.
Yeah.
Meeting about that.
Yeah.
I think these
Okay.
are certain.
I think other people are saying that, but,
Okay.
but, yeah.
All right.
I'm,
And we'll have more information in another year. Yes. You know, about the projects on Beale Street, about the MSBA visit to Hingham.
Correct.
Be in a stronger position.
Well, I don't know what the timeline is on the SOI, you know, it's still, you get in queue, and it might be a couple years down the road when you get
I mean,
invited in.
it's worth if you can gather the information.
Yeah.
So that
Okay.
it's there if we need to, or if we feel there's an urgency, or if another pipe goes or
Yeah, we need to look at what
I
they're-
think it's
what is
worth having
required
the
and what is
information in
happening.
our back pocket so that, you
Right.
know,
Okay.
nothing happens.
Right.
Oh, Foster.
Okay, anybody else have questions? Gonna hate to see the Plymouth River tables and chairs go, but I can understand how that they have a
Great
life.
value out of those.
Yeah.
I felt like that was probably one of the most worthy.
But
Yeah.
it's getting now to the point where there's some danger when they
Yeah.
put it
Yeah.
up and down,
Oh,
particularly
yeah.
with the kids of squishing fingers and so on. And also, times are a bit different in terms of one custodian during the day having to close them all up and move them out of the way to clean, set them up again the next day, a lot of custodial time that we wouldn't need with other furniture.
I don't know, I mean, 1969 furniture, you don't think we can
can
sell that
yeah,
as
sell
an
that on
antique?
As an
eBay.
antique, right.
It's gonna be
Retro,
some movie or
we call it.
TV
Yeah.
show that's gonna
Some
want
retro
them.
school, yeah, some
Yeah.
movie that needs a, 1969 school furniture.
Is there anything on this sheet that's the proposed equipment, anything of note? It looks like these are all the small items.
Just kind of
Yeah.
elaboration on the
Right.
items that are.
No, and just so, Kate, you know that these two items here, the instructional equipment and the maintenance equipment, they flow into a single line item on this document. So, the equipment, the small sheet, the instruction. Yeah, I'm gonna find it right now. So, will flow into the, let's see. Structural equipment, where's my system? Where's PRS? Oh, me.
So look for an item on the budget, on the big sheet.
It's in the system, so, wait, there it is.
For 69, isn't it? Put my glasses on.
Okay, so it feeds into 147 and 149. Okay, so that's just the itemization of the instructional equipment on the capital budget and the itemization of the maintenance equipment on the capital budget. So those numbers feed in. So because they're smaller items, we group them all together and we throw them in as a single item in the capital budget. And there's a new website development in here that we got pushed out to 2019. That's on line item 152. Right now I get it at $30,000, but Dot just told me that there might be a lower
Well,
price
that might
to it.
still be accurate
30.
because I talked to Steve Becker. They
Oh,
did their
yeah.
website last year, and he said that the original quote that they had, and I've got the name of it, it's a vendor that deals with municipalities and schools, and the original quote was $44,000. They looked at it again. Their needs are much less than ours, really, but they did do separate websites for the town, the library, and I forgot the third one. Town, the library, and some other department that have separate ones. And the main feature that they got was the main feature that we talk about, which is the searchability feature, so.
No, I forgot why we moved that to 2019. Shouldn't we consider that now?
Well, it's a new item,
Okay.
so.
You'd like to talk about that a
Yeah.
couple of times?
Yeah, you wanna give capital a,
Heads up.
Put it on the radar for them,
I will say, I asked for it to
I know
go
that.
on, because I feel like we've been talking about it, and we've been doing a lot of work, and, community outreach this year has been taking the next level and adding more and more, and, we have, like, some of these special ed issues, and we have many other parents keep looking for stuff, and we know ourselves now that one of the biggest drawbacks of our website is that there's so many things added to it, you can't search for what you need. And also the work we've been doing in policy of updating our policies, that so many of the mandates And even laws that the legislature is passing, it requires you to schools to put it on your website. And you can't have everything on the homepage because it's impossible. But if you can have the search capability, people can then find things easier. And so I just felt like it's time. We gotta do it.
Seems we should do it right now.
And then I asked.
We should do everything right now. That's
Yeah,
the problem.
and I asked Dr. Gallo to check with the town to see, since they had updated their website recently, that, you know, it's worth looking at if we make a new website that's complementary to the town. It's worth considering that. I'm not married to it, but it might be less expensive than
And it gives us a
going to an
year to
outside
explore
vendor.
what a better cost would be. So that's just a ballpark cost that somebody else did, but gives us a year to say, you know, these are some things we want to know and talk to vendors and get a more accurate cost, which could be more or less, but at least it would be more accurate.
I think we're getting closer to knowing what we want our website to have on it. So it's time to make a decision and move on.
So is the intention then that we're gonna talk about some of these more on Thursday as well?
Well, the intent was to have all of your question answered tonight, have you a chance to look at it in advance, because it's very dense, but on Thursday, to come to consensus that this is the capital budget that you want the subcommittee to take to the meeting on.
Can't ask more questions
Okay.
on Thursday.
On Wednesday.
Okay.
So there'll be that, we'd like to have that consensus vote, so everybody feels that, yeah, we can go along with that request, knowing that it's not gonna get fully funded, but, and knowing also likely that they will come back and have another opportunity to kind of have to make some choices if we have to reduce it.
One question I do have is I see on here a vehicle for Doug.
Yep.
Have we ever provided a vehicle for somebody
Well, Paul.
before?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Paul Field, we have a handful, and it's only a handful, but it's our maintenance people that do have vehicles. Many fewer vehicles that we have assigned to people than the town has, but there are some.
Now, do they drive in their own car and they get into that car, so it's only used when they're working? Is that-
That's correct,
Unless
yes,
it's an
yes.
emergency, you know, thing that.
Right, Katie Hartman should be taking her truck home now during the winter time, she should be doing that all the time.
'Cause it's ridiculous to work
She's the
until
one that's gonna get the
2:30
call and is gonna have to get into the area, so. But, yeah, everybody else, the trucks get kept at our, parking lot, and they drive their personal car in, and they use it during the workday.
The superintendent used to have the vehicle,
Yeah.
but when it was like a Pontiac that was 1949, it was in my future.
And is that more cost
No.
effective than just
No.
reimbursing them mileage? What would be more cost effective? To have them report the miles they drive? Because I'm sure some days are more miles than others, and just reimburse them for mileage versus providing a car, which then we're insuring and all.
It's not a car, it's a truck.
It's a
And
truck,
it's a
yeah.
work vehicle,
And some of
so
them
it's
have
a
plows
work
on them.
vehicle. I mean, Doug's doing administration, but he's out there, he wouldn't think twice about transporting something up. As I said, he was plowing this weekend, I
Okay.
mean, he is,
But when we get,
he's an administrative, he's a hands-on guy too.
when we get a
so-
call in the middle of the night that there's a flood and somebody has to hop in their car, to have them have to first go and get the truck at the depot and then go to the job, makes no sense. But on a day-to-day basis, most of our.
Right. I mean, since he's been here, he's actually been, driving around one of the windstorms and stuff. A tree fell on his own personal car. This is all in the line of duty here. What I mean? It's a lot to ask somebody to take their car around town all day long and just beat it up because it's constant motion. Oh, I'm going to go over to this school. I'm going to go over to that school. So it's a lot for this position. So.
And all the other departments, fire and police, have certain people that have vehicles that go home in DPW. I don't think any of the other departments would be involved. I think there is a car for Board of Health, so.
Yeah, they do, but I think they stay in the parking lot over here, and I think they,
Will there be time Thursday night for questions from last Thursday's presentation?
Sure.
Okay. The beginning,
I would say at the end, let's give
Yeah,
the
okay.
most attention And, you know, if you have questions that you want to ask before then, that's fine too.
A couple more items. So line 138, that's the business office automation to buy the next module in Munis where all the quotes and other documents can actually be stored online. That's rolling forward because that's been on for a number of years. So that's the $26,642 on line 138. Yep. This water supply valve for number 136, that's the aquarium went out and said we had a defective water supply valve and the at the depot. So that's got to be replaced. That's a requirement. So that's like $8,000. Those are sort of new ones. Other ones have just moved forward, really. We reduced the facilities master plan. Last year we had $90,000. That was, we had put it into 18. So now that's just actually rolled forward, so it's showing up now. But we reduced it by half because we have the asset inventory, and I think we'd use that money to sort of focus more on the areas that we know need some attention as opposed to, you know, the middle school and the E school and stuff. But roof repairs are regular. That's regular because we'll always have some roof repairs. And the continuing, that's 154. 156 is a continuous enhancement of security, $20,000. And just 143, we talked about, before we had lighting projects, but now we're calling energy efficiency projects. We had them individualized by school, like there was a pump that was needs to be replaced at the high school, and we put in a variable frequency drive pump, which would be more energy efficient. But rather than say lighting projects, we thought we'd change them to energy efficiency projects, so we could make it the best use of this money during the course of the year to either change out a pump or do a lighting project. And it's actually been reduced. I mean, we just had to, we did a lot of reductions. You saw the new stuff in Plymouth River. Plymouth River has not, didn't get much capital this year for 17. But the window shades, because they have been out without window shades, I kept on waiting for the window project, but now we don't know when that's really going to happen, so they could really use these shades, which will help them, you know, eliminate glare and stuff and be more energy efficient as well. And they got fans that we have that have to be installed, and it will improve circulation there and eliminate tripping hazards by using the portable fans. And what else we got for? And south we have to paint that ceiling, and our guys can't get up that high, so that's got to be contracted out.
That's scaffolding.
Jonathan, you're gonna do that job yourself.
Yeah.
And I'll help you out.
Yeah.
And then there's other things in here, but, you know, the small things like these. Plymouth River wants a fob for the gym entrance, which made complete sense, because if someone gets injured in the playground, before they'd have to call somebody, hey, come over, open this door, but now they'd be able to get fob and get down to the nurse's office. So that one made sense. They also wanted a camera for the parking lot, but we had to move that off to 19. So we made a lot of trade-offs already. We eliminated about, when we started, $299,000 from where we started last Wednesday when we met. And, you know, we'll have to go further.
All right, great. So until Thursday.
Any other questions for now?
Till Wednesday.
So if you have some other questions, and you're going to ask John by
Yeah.
Thursday night, then we can be more efficient about, you know, what your consensus is on that point.
Okay. So, and then going back to 7.3, we will talk on the warrant articles. We'll talk, each budget meeting, we'll talk about those. 7.6, to receive notification of the appointment of Denise Stanley as the high school guidance administrative assistant.
That's an internal move.
So then 7.7, to receive notification of the resignation of Christine White at our language lab.
Fairly new in the language
Unfortunately,
lab. I
yeah.
think just last year, that'll be a tough one to replace.
Okay, other items as may not reasonably known 48 hours in advance of the meeting. Under this, I wanted to talk about, we all received a number of communications from people, and some of them, people wrote to us as a whole group on the same email, and then others, they sent individual messages to us.
And some were only maybe the subcommittee.
Okay, so, that's a, yeah, so some that, like.
Some all
and I-
seven, some
yeah,
only three.
So what we wanted to do was to make sure we knew all the communications that we received on this special ed issue. Cynthia started a list, as secretary, she, did respond. So what I thought we'd do is if she could read down her list, and if we can each get our emails on our screens, and then we can double check, she's just gonna read them off by last name, that we have a log of all the ones received on this issue. Is everyone ready?
Well, yours,
Yes.
are
Who are we
you going
starting with?
alphabetically, or how are you
Let's go
going?
really slow, so we can, I have a list, but I'm gonna have to look all around.
Yeah, I know,
Go-
I sort of did it by how they, when
By-
they came in.
By
Okay,
date, yeah.
well, that would be helpful.
Okay, so,
Who are you gonna start with?
Goggin
And what's the time and the date?
on January 6th,
Who's that?
What was the name? Oh,
Catherine Goggin,
yeah.
January 6th.
Give me a second.
I
Looks
did
like
not
she was
get
sick.
that one.
I see that one, yeah.
Yes.
I got it.
What about Cynthia Holly on the same day preceding Catherine Goggin?
I got that too.
I got that.
I got that.
Yeah, okay, yes.
You got that one?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was it again? For
It
the-
was Holly Pilot.
Holly Pilot?
Oh, excuse me.
How do you pronounce that?
Okay.
Okay, so Palat, we all got. Goggin, everyone but Liza. January 7th, me.
Yes.
Let's see.
Just 1 second on the 6th. Any, I have another one on the 6th, I believe.
Okay, okay.
You wanna go, Kathleen Doyle?
Doyle, okay.
I didn't get that.
Okay.
No, that's our Kathleen. She's, no, she's a staff. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I was gonna say she
I
works
was
with
gonna
us.
say.
She was, yeah.
Our cake?
Different subject. Okay.
Yes, Carrie Nee.
All right, knee on the 7th, did everyone get?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it, yep.
Then on the 8th, Benham, B-E-N-H-A-M.
Janice Sullivan on my
Yeah,
screen
Janice Sullivan.
preceded Jennifer Benham.
Yeah, I got Janice Sullivan.
Yeah, Janice was sent only to 4.
Oh, and
us.
so I got Janice Sullivan, and then I got,
Hold on.
Oh,
All right, so who
sorry.
got Sullivan?
Yeah, no, I did get that too.
Yeah, Ed,
should've
Kay, Carlos, and Liza.
That must have been the subcommittee in line.
Which one is that?
That was Sullivan.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Remember, let's not give too much information here,
Yeah.
just last first names,
Yeah.
if necessary. All right, so after Sullivan, Benham,
Benham?
Yep.
Yes.
everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Nevins, I think was sent to all of us, so I'm assuming you got all of that.
Wait a minute, let's see. On January 8th,
Mm-hmm.
I got, wait a minute, I got a couple.
McGar.
I may not be doing this in time order.
Okay.
Like, they may not be actually chronological.
Oh. Well, let me just.
Date.
Adrian McGar,
Yep, I got
Got
McGar.
that.
Brent Parker,
I
Yep.
got that.
Yes.
Jackie Young.
Yep.
I got that.
Wait,
On the
I-
8th.
No, I didn't get Young.
Okay.
I got that.
I got
Yeah.
that.
I don't know
Yeah, I
if
think
have
by date
Yen.
to work
What's
there.
Yen's first name?
Jackie.
All right, so who got Young?
I did.
Everyone but you and me, okay.
I have
I have Jackie Yen.
Jennifer.
Okay,
Anybody got Jennifer?
hold on.
Wait.
We're still with you.
Oh, that's-
Hold on.
Let's let Cynthia drive this
All
bus.
right, so we all got Fitzgerald, correct? On January 8th, Kim Fitzgerald?
No.
Yes, you
No.
did, because I responded
No.
from all of you. And I saw the emails on it.
Yeah, you can see the ones that.
This is confusing.
Mine's showing up as a first name too, so that's,
But since you took care of it, that's good.
All right. Then anyone else on the 8th?
Oh.
What day
Okay.
was the 8th? Is that Sunday?
yeah.
Okay, moving on to the 9th. I'm not, this may not be in order because there were a ton, so my apologies. Sorgi and Concanon was to all of us.
Yeah.
Forest?
I don't know if I
Allison?
got, did I get that one?
I got
Yeah, I got Forrest.
No, Forrest I got, but, the other.
Sorgi Concanon?
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was to all of us.
I'm pretty sure it was to all of us.
Cynthia, you don't have by time, Cynthia?
Nope.
Because she's looking at her list, not her email.
It's the spreadsheet I put together. So Forest, everyone got?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Burnett was to all of us, so hopefully you got it. And I actually replied to all of you.
You did.
Yeah.
So you should
Yeah.
have it,
Yes.
even if you didn't get the original, you should have it connected to my reply. Kenny,
Mm-hmm.
everyone.
Wait a minute. Which,
We have to figure out a better system for
Oh,
this.
I see what you're doing, Cynthia. Got it.
I don't know if I, did I get that one? Did we all get that one?
12:45.
To Ryan?
12:45. Oh, yep.
Okay, so everyone got Kenny?
Mm-hmm.
Trinchette
Wait,
was addressed to you and me.
Yes.
I don't see them.
Oh, yeah,
think I
no, just, I
got-
think just Cynthia
It
and
was
I
only,
got that.
Yeah, no.
okay, so that was just me and Carol.
I,
Do you have Allison Forrest?
Yes.
We already talked
I
about that.
got,
already did that.
Yep, we all did that one.
I also got one from Averett,
How do you spell that?
Averett.
I didn't
Okay.
get-
Camille,
Okay.
that was today.
What
Okay.
about Anita
Are we
Ryan?
just doing now,
Hold on,
Scott? Because
I'm
I
not
want
even
you
close to
for-
done, guys.
Yeah.
We have plenty left.
No, but are we also doing the ones for the, school size, class size?
Oh, shoot, maybe that, no, these were all sped.
No, we're just doing
No,
the
we're just
sped
doing the
ones.
sped. Struzeri was to all of us, you
Yes,
should have
got
that.
that.
Kaplan was to all of us, you should have that, or my reply, these are all today. And we're all fairly recently too, in the last like 5 hours. Molds,
Mm-hmm.
today, all of us. Harder was to all of us.
Some of that, I don't see it.
Leary was to all of us.
Hmm.
Oh, sorry, those were elementary classroom size, forget it. Doggett,
Yep.
Yep.
did everyone get that?
Doggett, I don't see.
It was pretty late in the day.
3:35 p.m.
And Floyd.
Oh, yes, I do see Doggett, yes.
Floyd.
Floyd, yeah.
And then really after 7 o'clock, there was another one that came in
Yeah.
from Barber.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't
I
get,
also
I didn't
got-
get Barbara, no.
A couple
Yeah,
of
that came
emails
in late,
from
7:12.
Richard McMahon.
I got one
Yeah.
from Richard McManus as well.
But that was on a different topic.
No,
Yeah.
that was,
No.
no, it was on this topic.
It was
Yeah.
on this topic.
Yeah, I
It was
got
on
it
this
too.
topic, so.
I didn't get Barbara.
Really?
Barbara.
Yes.
No?
Okay, because
Here,
one I
talk
got was
about-
about reading.
Oh, Barbara.
I don't even know.
No, it was about this topic.
Okay, all right. So 2 different ones.
See?
Got it.
Whose idea was it
Right.
to
Okay.
Did you get
post our website?
Richard McManus?
Yes.
Okay,
Did you
yep.
get it
Yep.
also?
Yep, all right.
Whose idea was it?
I got, I didn't hear you say Brent, but I thought that.
No, I think you said that
Did,
earlier.
yeah.
I don't have time to read these things.
I did not.
Darren, you said
No.
that one?
Nope, I did not say that.
Brent,
Oh,
as a
it's
first name?
also Parker, so.
Yeah, I said
Okay,
Parker.
all right,
Yeah.
Brent is a different-
What
Yeah.
about,
Sorry, yeah.
did you say Ellen Harder?
Yep,
Yeah.
that was one to all of us. There were a few that were all of us. All right, that may or may not have been successful, Liza. I mean, I have it written down.
Yeah. Did you say
Hopefully it
David
was-
Floyd?
Yes.
Okay.
And what about Litwinowicz?
Nope, that one I haven't seen.
I have one from a Brian. You should have this one too.
What was the date? Oh, I got that one.
Brian Litwinowicz.
Yep.
Can you spell it?
Litwinowich.
Okay,
I didn't see
Brian.
Oh, that just went to you and me. I think so, yeah.
okay. That was today?
Secret.
That was today, yeah.
Yeah.
This morning.
Okay. So, I think we had suggested putting this on the agenda for
I did,
policy
yes.
Friday.
Yeah.
Just to figure out how to deal with all this.
Yeah, Paul, I'll wait till 7:30.
So, on this, some of these people talked about their children, and that's not our role to address individual child and due to confidentiality issues, so, let's keep that, to ourselves. And Jamie and I met this morning to talk about the MCAS follow-up data. I have a little differing opinion from what they said about our MCAS than what I was looking at, and Jamie and I were looking at it because we want to make sure that we're all looking at the same data to compare. So, and then based on, because the school committee, we asked Jamie to come back to us about the high needs students. So we're going to shoot for that January 30th meeting, just because since we're in the budget cycle and they raised the issue, try and get that done. I don't know if Jamie can get every possible recommendation about what we're going to do about what we find, but we're just going to get some clear data out there. And then hopefully at the January 19th meeting, the administration can come to us with some recommendations on, their thoughts on this evaluation. I spoke, the group had cited Milton and Somerville as two towns that had used the same consulting group for doing this type of evaluation, and we had learned from some media reports that Cohasset had just done a Walker report. I spoke with the chair of the Somerville School Committee today to get some insight onto that. I'll write up my notes so that people have that, and administration has spoken with people at Milton to get some insight, and we've both spoke with different people at Cohasset to get some insight. So, we'll share that with everyone, because, that it's a little differing information of things that we got. Some of it's positive, some of it is, interpretive of, what did you put into the report and then what did you get back? So, we want to do our due diligence. That's how I feel. That's why I'm asking questions, and I encourage you guys to ask your own questions of people and the staff and do our own homework, but I'm trying to, gather it, and I want to share it with you when we can at the right meetings, so it's in the proper public role. And
Have to come out of the budget that we're proposing, in addition to what may have to come out because it's reduced, to make that happen.
And maybe just to sort of give some context, there was no decision made, right? I heard that comment made earlier. What we, myself and Liz, are preparing to offer you is our recommendation on how to move forward with the evaluation. And we had initially wanted to go. When we spoke to CPAC, what we had said to them was, so here's what we're thinking. Here's structurally what we're thinking. Would you like to get some feedback and let us know? It wasn't to put anything on to parents to then prioritize for us. It was to invite them into the fold of the decision making. And actually, I might reach out to Diane tomorrow if that, and sort of offer to go on Wednesday. So can you offer me 10 minutes? So rather than it being misinterpreted, like I'll come and say, so here's our draft, here's what we're working on. Does that seem, are we on the same page?
That's fine. I think the misunderstanding that when you say we, you say we administration staff, and they may think that I think the fellow understood that we, including the school committee.
Sure.
And so obviously because of open meeting laws, we cannot be discussing stuff. That's why.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say anything else because everything was already
right.
confused. So.
But I just wanted to give you, the committee, an update on sort of that's where we're at. It's not that none of this has fallen on deaf ears. It's we got the initial request. We've been seeing the emails come in. So part of our responsibility to you is to bring you sort of a reasoned, balanced sort of recommendation of how to proceed, right? And not just rely solely on a motion from the floor to have you consider something. But we want to make sure that we have the due diligence done, that we've contacted these people, that we have a sense of what the evaluation needs to give us relative to information to really move the program forward. And we're attempting to do that. And in terms of timeline, the initial meeting with the CPAC was December. It's not even a month ago. Right, so we're attempting to sort of put this together, so when the time comes, we can offer a recommendation to you, and whether you choose to vote that way or another way, that's really up to you, but we want to make sure that what we bring you has been fully vetted and sort of is reasoned in terms of giving us what we need, and not just responding to public concern, and we hear that, right, and we're trying to be as responsive as possible. So I might, given this evening and the perception that we're asking them to do something, maybe it makes sense for myself or Liz or some of us to go on Wednesday, even if they could offer. I know it's a parents-only meeting, which is why we didn't ask to go and explain, is because that they told us it wasn't for us to be there. So maybe that it makes sense for us to go, even if it's with a rough draft of, so here's where our thinking is, can we talk a little bit more about the background and sort of get some insight? I'm not trying to, but I want to make sure that we remain open and communicative. But
the whole discussion of the CPAC meeting and getting information back seemed to be a trigger for some people in the audience. So I don't understand what that's about, but there seemed to be a negative reaction or an emotional reaction to that conversation. So I think there may be some misconceptions. And
sure.
And I
think we should reach
out.
out.
Idea of trying to fit the timeline piece. And I did speak to two of the individuals who were here tonight individually and forwarded that idea. And one said, can I share it with other people so they could think about whether or not that would meet their needs? And I said yes. And so that was several weeks ago now. So that idea has been floated out there that, we would like to proceed with independent, and we would plan to present a reasoned timeline to do that. So that was not new to everyone sitting here tonight.
One of the things I'm having trouble with is I don't understand what an independent evaluation looks like and what can happen. I mean, is it even possible to do everything? And I know you had talked to that during the meeting, but there seemed to be some people in the audience that thought it was possible, but I don't know their background. And I don't think we think it's possible.
I would respectfully,
so I need that information.
Sure, I think we would respectfully disagree. I would respectfully disagree with the position that we can hire one organization for X amount of money to come and do everything under the sun. I think it's not.
And that we could have the resources here to support the many people that they would then need to talk about.
And maybe we need to define terms. Maybe part of the problem is when we say one thing or the parents say one thing, maybe we're talking about different things and they're not exactly the same.
And I think we've had a big problem in having conversation that is two-way. At every one of the large meetings we've had, it's been difficult. It's not been people speaking with each other. It's been people speaking at each other.
To Carol's point, I think that's why I was maybe reaching out tomorrow to Diane to offer myself Wednesday night, or Liz or Donna, whoever, is to do that. Because after when I sort of said my piece, I don't know that we're saying the different things. Right. It's that conceptually, in order to construct a program evaluation, the first step of that is to do an internal sort of assessment and talk about the areas that you would like directed or focused feedback on, right? So to enter a program evaluation, even if we acquiesced, right, and there was a motion to just appropriate $50,000 to do an evaluation, we would still need to know what they're doing it on.
So that's
Right.
what the person coming in would expect of us.
That's right. We would have to, and part of my training is as a program evaluator. So I have actually a certificate in program planning, management, monitoring, and evaluation from the BU School of Education. And the phase one is to, what's the questions, right? You're essentially conducting a research study of particular areas of program. And so in order to come out of the back end, having answer, you need to develop what your questions are. So are we effectively utilizing resources in relative to X? Are we appropriately staffing to meet student needs, identified in IEPs for this population of students? And so what sort of phase, so what we're developing for your sort of review and opinion and vote ultimately is sort of in year one, we're proposing to look at these 4 components of the program. That could be autism spectrum disorder classrooms, it could be life skills, it could be elementary inclusion, right? So, and then each of those 3 areas may not be the same evaluator, because what the rationale was, I want to find the autism person, right? Like to come in and help us look at those programs, rather than one person who may not have a team with that level of expertise. As opposed to having it be one large event, I think we're looking at it as being sort of over time a series of more focused, specific evaluations on the on the many components of what is the special ed program. And there are some pieces that we're starting anyway, and there are some pieces that we would put on a schedule to ensure that we have the right resources and manpower to actually get the most out of the evaluation as we possibly can. So, I can appreciate the feedback, and it's heard. I think we would respectfully come to a point where we would disagree about the methodology by which the evaluation occurs. I think we're all on the same page that yes, there should be an independent evaluation. Yes, we agree, we're there. How that gets done, we're recommending a different approach than what was requested this evening, which is, what we're still trying to work out.
Right, well, I think as, a person who doesn't have any knowledge at all about it, I would assume, and maybe some other people have as well, that there is somebody out there that sort of does this, and you say, I want an evaluation, and they come in and say, all right, this is what we're evaluating, so you need to give us X, 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 and X, and so they give you the checklist, as opposed to you giving them the checklist.
Well, once we identify.
No, I know how, I understand how you're telling me it's done, I'm just saying that if I didn't know that, I would think it was done the other way.
Oh, sure, and people coming in sort of telling you all the things that are wrong.
Right,
But
yeah.
any
So
evaluation.
that may be a perception
Sure.
that's out there.
Which is why it may make sense to sort of do some outreach to that group, right, on Wednesday, in an attempt to sort of have a conversation about that.
If
to
understood
help them
correctly,
understand.
based on the emails that we received, most of them pretty much have a uniformly language there that they pretty much saying, would you commit in doing that? And then we would like to be part of the conversation and discussing how to go about and identifying the organization to do the evaluation.
Right.
So they're not. First of all, I believe they're looking for a commitment from us that yes, we are in favor of an evaluation. If you guys correct if I'm wrong.
Repeatedly.
Yeah, that's what they say. They're saying repeatedly. So number one thing for them is, would you commit to do a new evaluation? And then they would be offering to be part of it as a stakeholders. Exactly what you've been saying.
And that's where we would agree.
Yeah.
It's the next part, right? So if you look at, so what I read was an independent evaluation, and the next piece is by a nationally recognized firm. That's where I may disagree, right? So for the behavioral health components of our program, maybe we contract with a national vendor who that's what they do, but maybe not for the autism spectrum program, because we have somebody in state who's a national leader and expert in it that I don't need to go to a national firm for, right? So it's not disagreeing, right, that there should be an evaluation. I think where the proposal that we would eventually bring forward to you articulates wanting to really, if we're going to go into this with the right intention to really grow and improve, then I want the experts in those fields to be helping us in evaluating what we do, not a vendor who also, by the way, many of them will have side components where they also sell IEP software, and they sell this, and they sell that service and that service. So some of the recommendations may be tailored, right, to sort of what that company does. And so we don't disagree. And I think that's where it may make sense to do some outreach and say, so here's what we're saying, and it doesn't sound like we're saying something different.
So the question is to Liza. Liza, we need to vote in whether to go forward with an evaluation. Is that correct?
You need to vote
On the budget.
On the
pretty
budget.
much thing they've asked for.
To include into the budget?
Well, and I think, I mean,
clarification on this.
I guess I wanna do some more homework on understanding of more of what they want, because of the examples they've given me so far, and I haven't done that much research on it. But I think from what Somerville told me, there's a little different. They didn't do a comprehensive.
Right.
They didn't do a full comprehensive. They
did what Jamie was-
part of it. And well, I don't even understand the terminology she gave me. I was gonna ask Jamie for what that really meant. I didn't have a long conversation with the woman. So, they spent,
Right.
Somerville spent $25,000, and she specifically said we didn't get into all the program evaluation because we were doing other things, and we
Right.
happened to hire a new superintendent at the same time, and superintendent did a lot of changing of what we did. So, I want to study it a little bit more and really understand what people want and where their challenges are, so that we can, if we have challenges, let's address the challenges and let's use the right tools to address them, and to consider where we are with the budget and,
And also what the
can we-
recommendations
Yeah,
are from
yeah,
the
definitely what the-
experts.
Well,
So,
I think the CPAC, subcommittees was a good idea too. So I don't know where that idea went. The subcommittees that CPAC had been forming, so, that sounded like a good place to start as well.
It
It
seems
seems
that
agree,
they
there was a
moved
lot of
somewhat
away from that.
yeah,
There's a
that's
lot of
what
good
we were
things that
trying
came out
to
of that.
talk
Yeah.
with them further to get more data from them, so,
Well, sadly, I don't know how this happened, but they had an expectation that something was going to happen tonight that was not on our agenda, so I'm not really sure why they all thought
Social
something,
media.
somebody must have told them something was gonna happen tonight, but it's,
I don't think
Well, there was a
No,
post on
no.
the CPAC
They posted.
site encouraging them to write us emails. That's why
Right.
all of a sudden this email flow came in
And I guess
before
that-
this meeting. And
and I
I think
guess
there's a misunderstanding of what takes place in our meetings.
well, and then I think there was I think people were frustrated because they had an expectation that something was going to happen, which, if you look at our agenda, wasn't going to happen, and then I think it just kind of fed into a negative
Well,
feeling.
I think that the people who notified them to come perhaps didn't make that clear.
yeah, I think there were, and we'll have to work on that to talk further with them and help them understand what is possible.
Did you-
So-
The idea that anyone ever said no, right? Like, that's what I can't get my head around. So when we've communicated with the special ed parent leaders, the CPAC, as recently as last week, our goal was to get them a draft of what we were proposing to bring to CPAC, but that was a parents-only meeting, and that might be the best time. So the letter writing campaign, right, it for me is a disconnect from where we left off with the leaders of the parent representation, I guess.
Well, maybe there's two different groups, perhaps.
That could be, but this movement we're requesting this, and there's never, at no point really did anybody ever say that's not going to happen. Right?
Or
Well,
this is your job.
Right. I mean, we never put
Trying to
anything on
include-
anyone. We wanted to be inclusive. And so by reaching out to CPAC and getting their input, it wasn't to put anything on them.
Right.
Right, it was really to engage them as partners. But having said that, it is what it is, right? So that the level of distrust is there, and so maybe offering outreach to them to go on Wednesday, you know, it's a less structured meeting than this. It's on a television. Maybe we can sort of have an open dialogue where we can hopefully make some inroads towards seeing where we have a lot in common, right? We actually agree more than we disagree.
Right.
Right, and it's a matter of highlighting that and hopefully moving the relationship forward, because this isn't helpful.
Right. Agree.
Well, I think we all want to move the relationship forward,
Yeah.
so. Okay, that was the only 48-hour thing. And then policies meeting on Friday, so we'll have a discussion again about making a recommendation on possibly how to respond on these individual emails. It's all new to us.
What time are you meeting on Friday?
10:30.
So,
Carol, you've looked at the guidelines, how the selectmen do it. Maybe to reach out to one of them. I know they got a lot of emails with the whole Bear Cove Park. How did they handle that email flow?
But they
Just get their
probably-
experience.
They
too.
logged it.
they log it,
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, about 2 minutes.
okay.
That will, I
All
hope.
right, I'm putting you on the clock.
Hope that
So
we'll
2
end
will
this
be
meeting
4.
on a more uplifting
Yeah.
note than we started. So, there's a superintendent in a neighboring town, not a neighboring town, but a town in our district.
That's what the speakers are for.
Wait a minute.
Cause I have something
Received this message from a student.
but I don't really care. Cause we didn't get days off and that just isn't fair. This song is a way for me to address some very angry feelings that I'd like to express. Other than you just and it's not your fault at all. But come on, Gary, please, won't you make the call? Have a vote for the woman I don't want to do. Sure, I
Snow
don't
day?
have to do, but you're waiting for you. You need to stop the stall. And make the stupid, freaking, simple, easy, dumb call. Make the call. Gary, won't you make the call?
Gary's in Plymouth.
Gary, won't you make the call? Don't you remember when you were a kid? Your happiness depended on what some adults did. Now that adults use, so don't let our hearts fall. Come on, Gary, please, won't you make the call? Now suddenly, Gary, I feel quite inspired to let you know that all the teachers you hire have given me work that I haven't started at all. Gary, make the call, make the call, make the call. Gary, won't you make the call? Make the call, make the call. Gary, won't you make the call? So thank you, Gary, for being my muse. But the truth is I still got the Sunday night blues. Every student in town hopes that you'll stop the stall. So come on, Gary, dearest, won't you make that
Very creative.
So we like to think we have creative students in Hingham, and we do a lot of them, but they're all around.
Was that this weekend? Was that
That
this
was from
weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Did he make the call?
Poor Emmy.
It'll come up again in the next storm, I'm sure. So, any subcommittee reports? I think we heard from everybody today, so. Okay, so, number 10.
Motion to adjourn.
To adjourn?
So just
Ed.
just an FYI, the Hingham Substance Abuse Forum will meet Wednesday, the 11th at 5 p.m.
Here.
Here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very important meeting,
It is,
actually,
yeah.
because of marijuana coming up, so, okay. So, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.